13.
O'clock.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now can you hear me?
Sound check.
Now can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Testing.
Yeah, it should be on now.
Okay.
It should be on now, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Okay.
I don't know. I swear to God, this stuff does just weird shit on its own. Because not only was the ring light up at maximum brightness, even though I didn't touch it.
I moved it.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, well that explains that.
Shoot
but
porn.
this doesn't explain. Yeah, but that doesn't explain. That's right. Yeah, that's right. We took it in the other room. But that doesn't explain why in OBS this turned the microphone off. Like the microphone itself is on, but in OBS it said no device connected. So, okay, whatever. But no, all we were saying when we were muted was that it seemed like it was just Thanksgiving like a couple weeks ago, and now it's already Thanksgiving again next week, which is crazy.
The older you get, man, the faster years go by.
I know, it's kind of depressing.
Yeah, you get into your 40s and 50s and shit, and they go by so fast, it's like, oh, fuck it, I'm already dead.
Oh, well,
I got nothing to lose.
Well, don't look at it that way.
I don't care. I'm just fucking going
I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care. Tom doesn't care.
It happens when it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't worry about it too much. Probably you probably die faster worrying about it.
Yeah, I'm having fun.
Than you would otherwise.
I'm having fun.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
I'm having fun.
As long as you're still having fun.
Yeah. It's still looking good. It's all coming together good. Yeah. Yeah. I can still do everything I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's always good.
Yep.
That's always good. All right. So we're doing another true crime show. We did serial killer last week. We're also doing a serial killer this week. But the difference here, a couple differences. Differences here is that this serial killer, unfortunately, is also a PDF file. And, so went after kids. And this one has not been caught. And now it might be more than one person. They're not entirely sure, which we'll get into a little bit later, because this one might be involved in like a whole PDF file ring. So we'll kind of get into that as the time goes on. I feel like this is a case, and this happened in your old stomping grounds of Michigan, a little bit north of Detroit, Oakland County. Do you know where that is?
I remember the name. I've never been up there.
It's like north of Detroit. I think it's kind of a more affluent area. It might still be. I don't know. And it definitely was at this time. But that's where all of them happened. This happened back in the 1970s. So, yeah, it's weird because you don't really hear a lot about this case anymore. Even though at the time that it happened, I think it was like the biggest murder investigation like in the United States ever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it just seemed like even though they never caught the person or persons responsible, you don't really hear much about it. Yeah, Grumter said Oakland County is the most affluent county in Michigan. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was, because I definitely, I was watching the documentaries about it, and they did mention that it was in the 70s, and I assumed it still was, but I wasn't entirely sure. So I guess it is.
Sebastian's saying that they're good Mountain Poltergeist interviews on Spotify. I don't know which ones he's talking. He says it's us.
Yeah, we did like a lot of shows about that. And when the book came out.
Over time, yeah. I don't know. Some of them were for radio. I kind of did one for NPR. Some of them were from podcasts, so I don't know exactly the ones you're talking about. Some of them have just Jen. Some of them have both of us on it.
Yeah.
A couple of them, I think, just have me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Grumter says the Oakland County killer was the son of a GM executive. Yeah, we'll get into that. That's one of the possibilities for sure. And he also says this case still makes the news in Michigan every now and then. Lots of auto execs live in Oakland County. Yeah. Tammy's saying that she's going to live to 100. And she said great grandfather and my grandmother both lived to be 101 years old.
Yeah. My mother's side of the family, they're immortal. Her parents just died, and all her sisters are still alive.
Yeah.
Her oldest sister is still alive.
Yeah.
But I think my grandparents on that side of the family, they died in their mid-90s. So they live forever.
Yeah.
And they have high blood pressure too. It doesn't matter. It doesn't kill us. Mine's slightly high, but that's just normal for our family. You could have 140 over something. That's just what it's going to be.
Mine's like unnaturally low.
Yeah.
And always has been. So.
My dad's side of the family, they didn't live long.
That's all about.
They didn't live as long. My granddad on my dad's side, he died at, I think, late 40s of a heart attack. Fighting. He was rooting over two guys fighting on television. Died of a heart attack.
It was a boxing match, right?
Boxing match, yeah.
Yeah. And he died of a heart attack. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, at least he died.
He must have had some kind of congenital heart defect. It had to have been something like that.
Probably.
Back in those days, that was Mississippi. They didn't do autopsies. It's just, he died. He died of something.
They don't usually do an autopsy unless the death is suspicious.
Yeah.
They wouldn't normally.
No, he was just laying in front of the television set. He said he didn't feel good. He was cheering. He goes, "Man, I don't feel good." And my grandma says, "You want me to get you something to drink?" He goes, "Yeah, give me some." He said, "Give me some sweet tea." And he sat back down in the chair, and he fucking boom, bowled over. When she came back, he was on the floor dead.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, at least it was quick, I guess.
Yeah,
he probably didn't know what happened to him.
He was yelling and screaming over the damn fight.
Well, don't get that excited about the boxing match. That's the lesson there. Gramther says, other Michigan serial killers, the Ypsilanti killer. Yeah, I think we did a show about him not too long ago. And Coral Watts. We might have done... Did we do a show about Coral Watts? I feel like we probably...
Real familiar. Yeah, that was a gay guy that was killing all the male prostitutes.
I feel like maybe we did.
Oh, Coral... Okay, for a second I got him confused with that other heinous motherfucker that was sticking them fucking glass rods up into them boys' dicks.
Yeah, what was that? Dean Coral.
Dean Coral, yeah.
Coral.
Dean Coral, yeah.
The Candy Man.
Yeah, and he buried them
all
in
that
damn store. He buried them all in the damn storage container on the ground at a fucking...
There's a lot of fucking
place.
motherfuckers out there in the world.
Yeah, he had that young guy as an accomplice that was bringing him the victims. He's paying him for it. And that was the kid that eventually killed him for getting ready to torture a girl to death. That was a good story. We did the show on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty... It was pretty messed up.
I'd have fucked that dude up, man.
I mean...
And he was an ex-army guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tammy said, my daughter looked whoops, it just moved. Looked into the family, and my great-grandfather had a sister live to be 107.
Yeah.
Holy crap. That's old. I've never really heard about anybody living that long. Other than, in the Guinness Book of World Records and stuff. Yeah, Gramther said, Coral Watts killed 80 to 100 women in Michigan and Texas. If we didn't do a show on him, then we need to at some point. Also, Murder Hornet said, do one on Paul Reed. I was in prison with him, the fast food killer. Yeah, I think he's on my list somewhere. We just haven't got around to doing him yet. We'll get around to him. That's the thing. It's just like there's so many serial killers. And it's like I said, I write about serial killers all the time, but it's like I'm always coming across new ones. Yeah.
Michigan's a weird place. Me and Gramters grew up there. He's still there. I did 2 years there in high school, in between going back and forth to Brazil for high school. My stepdad was from there. That's how I ended up there. Michigan's pretty, but it's also kind of like the United States' version of fucking Siberia. That's got a real cold winter, and that's where they were making all the tanks during World War II. It was like Tankograd, it was in Siberia. It was an industrial powerhouse for a while, but then it just tore itself apart over time. Place had real pretty girls. They were Scandinavian and Czech, or not Czech, Czechoslovakian, and mixture of Scandinavian girls and Slavic girls were from up there. We went to high school with them. Me and Grandpa's went to drama school there together. And cute girls. Yeah. And then Sophie comes down and visits. She's from there. She got that. They all look like Sweden, like they're from Sweden. Big tall girls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big old feet, man.
Do they all
size
have big
11
old
and
feet?
shit. Is that?
They all have big old feet.
No, when they're tall, they got big old feet.
Well,
They came in all sizes, but
yeah, I'm pretty
could
sure
tell.
that's kind of like
you could tell who was who. You could tell their ethnic background. That's all they were.
Yeah, Grafter said Trenton girls knew how to treat a boy.
Oh, yes, they did. Take them down to the damn drive-in and fucking Steve's Love Palace.
Steve's Love Palace. Oh my God.
The Love Dungeon.
Tom loves talking about that.
Yeah. That's fun.
Reliving your glory days.
That was my glory days. It got better. It got better as it went. That was just the genesis. That was the genesis of the dialects.
That's the origins. That's Tom's origins.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Doctor Who terms, that was the genesis of the dialects. Is where I came from.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, so got a couple of housekeeping things we need to do, obviously, before we get into the show. And the first thing that we do, if you've been here for the last couple of weeks, you know that we now have some affiliate stuff going on. So we're going to talk today about one of our affiliates, which is Audible. You know what that is? Audible is Amazon's offshoot. They do audiobooks and podcasts and all that other kind of stuff. And all of my books, almost all of my books, I think, are available on Audible, and it's me reading them. All of my true crime books, my paranormal books, all of my horror novels, my short story collections, all that kind of stuff. You can go on there and listen to those if you want to. And if you click the little link down in the description box, you will get a 30-day free trial of Audible. And you can listen to anything in their catalog without needing any credits. You also get 1 credit, which you can use on anything you want, and you can keep that forever. If you're already an Amazon Prime member, then you actually get 2 credits that you can spend, and you can keep that forever also. So again, full disclosure, if you click on the link in the description box, we do get a commission from that. But yeah, so thanks to Audible for being our affiliate. It's really awesome. So yeah. Also, here's something, and I had been thinking about this, and Tom had this idea also. And you guys know that I occasionally, when I have time to do it, will put up movie reviews or book reviews. I haven't done any book reviews lately because I just haven't had time to like finish reading a book. Like I'm in the middle of 2 different books and I just haven't had time to finish them. But because it's quicker to do movie reviews because I can sit and watch a movie in an hour and a half and then, write a script and do the video and everything. But Tom said that I should do my movie and book reviews, my Flickers of Fear, Tomes of Terror, like that I should do them as live streams. And I don't know, I do kind of like that idea. I don't know if I'd ever be able to do them like regularly, but I could maybe do like 1 a week or 2 a week or something like that where I could just jump on. I don't know if I'd ever have like a set time because it would just be whenever I had time to do them.
That's the good thing about it.
But yeah, so we might be able to get listeners that don't ever get to see us live or anything like that. And I don't usually stream solo, but it might be worth doing. Again, it would probably save me some time because I wouldn't have to edit the videos, which would be nice. But because that is kind of time consuming.
You'll run into fans of all the different shows that we have. At random times, they're in different time zones.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to interact with them. You'll get super chats and stuff.
Because Tom was noticing, especially on Instagram, that a lot of people that comment or that like my posts about my book reviews are not necessarily people that would comment on the regular show.
Yeah, it's 2 different crowds.
So it's slightly like there's overlap, obviously, but there does seem to be, like, particularly with my book reviews, because like on Instagram and YouTube and stuff, there's like a whole community of people that are into like horror books and stuff, and cause you got like I like Jordaline, like she's pretty cool, and Shades of Orange, she's another one that does like horror and thriller and stuff, and I like her. But there's a lot of really good ones, so. That's something that I'm probably going to consider, like maybe starting in a week or 2, maybe doing the stuff as live streams. If you guys would like that, I mean, obviously you can still watch them later if you don't catch them live. Because like I said, I don't think I could ever do a schedule like, this day at this time I'm going to live stream because I never know if I'm going to have time to do it. But
and if you're catching this show, the paranormal and the true crime shows, if you're catching these recorded because you're in another time zone, you now have another chance where you could actually interact live with Jet.
Yeah.
So you can actually ask questions about this show too. She doesn't care. You You can ask her any questions about any show she does,
Yeah.
and she'll be able to interact.
Yeah, I'm pretty. You know what I'm
Yeah.
like. I'm pretty.
But I think you can get a lot of like fans also from your book reviews.
Yeah.
You'll be able to deal with that.
I need to really do some more books.
Right.
I'm still reading Slewfoot by Brom, which is really good, but I just haven't had time to like get through it. I'm only probably about a quarter of the way through it.
Yeah.
I mean, what sometimes I do if I'm, and I have a book and I don't have time and it's like, man, I really need to get a book review up, is I'll go on, because I have Kindle Unlimited, that subscription to that. So you can go on and there's like ebooks and you can read them for free. So I'll just find like a novella or something that I can read in like a couple of hours and then like just review that, because Slewfoot is kind of long and I kind of want to, I bought a print version of that, so I kind of want to like savor it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like The Witch, I'm going to say. Like if you liked The Witch, you would probably really like Slewfoot, at least so far. I don't know what's going to happen in it because I'm only about a quarter of the way through. But yeah, so I'm kind of just considering that. I think that might be a good thing to do. Like I said, might
you can
be.
find the live stream in its proper place inside the playlist, right?
Yeah, I always put, because I have playlists for everything.
Right. Yeah.
Because you know how anal retentive I am about like
They should be.
classifying
Yeah, they
everything.
gotta be classified.
So people had to know.
Yeah.
Like, I have a thing, how I have the channel laid out. It's like I have all the videos at the top, but then like I have the playlist, like all book reviews, all movie reviews, So I just kind of put everything in there. You know what I mean? Tammy says, just read us the book live. Bedtime reading with Jenny. Yeah, I could maybe do that. But yeah, I think that probably would be more fun. And I would probably do it more in like the afternoons, because that's usually when I would have time to do it. So
Afternoons are in our time zone.
yeah, Eastern Standard Time. So it'd probably be, I don't know, it'd probably be like 2 or 3 in the afternoon or something like that probably. Murder Hornet said, I like Jen's other channel. Well, thank you. I need to post something over on Scare Salon too, because I just put something on the crime channel. Scare Salon still needs 100 subscribers before it can be monetized. And I'm kind of pushing for that. I'm working on a Scare Salon video, although I might post it on this channel, honestly. I'm doing a history of horror, but like I said, it's taking forever.
Yeah, if you haven't subscribed to Scare Salon, go over there and help
Yeah.
Jenny make that 100 more.
I do kind of like longer form stuff over there. Like I'm doing like some series. I'm doing a series called my 5 favorite horror movies from every year since I was born. So I'm up to 1982 now, I think. That's going to be the next one that I'm going to put up. I'm also going through the Boris Karloff show Thriller from 1960 and 1961. So I'm going through episodes of that. And I'm also doing Night Gallery. So I'm kind of like going through, I occasionally post other like long form reviews. Like sometimes I'll do like a comparison of a movie and a book. Like I think I did one on Burnt Offerings, and I think I did one on No One Gets Out Alive. I think I did one on The House Next Door. I don't know, but sometimes I do that too. But it's just kind of like whatever. Like I said, I do longer form stuff over there, and it's just kind of like random whatever I think of.
Murder said he just subscribed to it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to get up to 1,000 so I can get it monetized. But the crime one is monetized, but the Scare Salon is the only one that isn't. And I haven't posted anything on there for a few weeks because I just haven't had time. And the history one, I was going to try to get it up for Halloween, but obviously that didn't happen because, like I said, it was a lot more work than I anticipated. So I'm maybe going to try and get it up for Christmas, because I wanted to do it like as a big special thing. But I might put that on this channel. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So I think that's kind of all the stuff we had to talk about, right?
Yeah, I'll get some more ice. Let me get that.
Yeah, because look at how
all that ice is.
I put ice in there. Somebody said, where was it? I just saw somebody that was in. Oh, Jeffy Art said, just finished class. Now I'm leaving Miami, soaking wet. How's the weather in Orlando? It hasn't been raining, but it's been like cloudy here for like 3 days, which I don't mind at all. But it's been kind of raining off and on. But it's been like real overcast, kind of like breezy, which like I said, I kind of like it. But Tom's bummed out because he can't like ride his motorcycle. You know what I mean? Because he's afraid it's gonna rain. So I think it rained on Monday afternoon, but not hard. But it was just kind of like sprinkling rain. But it's been real overcast, but not pouring down rain. Like I said, I don't mind that because I don't really like the bright sun or anything, And let me see. Yeah, Danny Rowling said, I'm jonesing for the horror history episode. Yeah, it's just like I'm really excited. I'm having a good time like going through and like writing, because I'm writing this massive dissertation on it, so that the video is probably going to be like 4 hours long. We'll see how it
She's
goes.
been so busy lately. We haven't even had time to do StreamMate.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even done StreamMate for a few
Like 2
weeks because
weeks,
we just haven't had time.
Too busy.
To do it. Like, I've had a bunch of freelance work. We've had like a bunch of other shit going on. I've had job interviews. We've had he's had VA shit. Like we've so we've had like motorcycle shit that he had to fix and all this other kind of stuff. So we've kind of run out of time of doing stuff. But yeah.
And I still haven't gone out shooting, man. I gotta take my shit out. I got a couple of fucking AR-15 uppers I need to zero that I built.
Yeah. And
there's a new range, local range here. I'm gonna take you. You wanna go?
Sure.
Yeah, because you haven't shot anything yet.
No.
Okay. She hasn't really shot. You haven't really shot, have you?
A long time ago. My dad took me when I was younger, when I was a teenager or something.
Shoot Straight, which is an indoor range, before we moved here. I haven't shot in over a year. And I just went on my own.
Yeah.
She was always at work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always working.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing. And I saw something else real quick that I needed to... Oh, Camp Guy said the live vibe is what brings me. Yeah, and honestly, the more I do this, the more I kind of like live streaming. You know what I mean? I used to get real stressed out about it, but now I get more stressed out about the recording stuff, which is dumb because you can just, like, if you fuck up, you can just fix it. But honestly, like, when I had kind of been thinking about it in the back of my mind, but then Tom said, why don't you live stream your reviews? It's like a lot of people watch them and people seem to like those. And I was just kind of like, yeah, maybe I will. And then I can just go on in the afternoon, like, for a little while and talk about whatever horror movie I just watched or some shit like that. I got a message the other day that people really liked that I talked about ones that were, like, forgotten. And I said, well, there's a lot to be said, yeah, for... And, you know, occasionally I will cover ones that are real buzzy, like in the horror community. You know, like I did A Wounded Fawn, because a lot of people were talking about that one, and Skinamarink, because a lot of people were talking about that one. But I had wanted to see those anyway. I don't really like doing reviews of movies that everybody else is doing just because everyone else is doing them. Like, I have to really want to see it personally, otherwise I'm not going to bother. And honestly, if I'm going to... I would rather watch something that was kind of off the beaten path. Like, I really like to look up, like, forgotten gems, like, from the 70s and 80s, and I really like to kind of do deep dives on that kind of stuff, because I like to find ones that not a lot of people are talking about, which is probably not the best business decision, but, you know, I don't know. I just like to do that, because I feel like it's kind of a niche. And I do get messages that people appreciate that, instead of just covering the same shit that everyone else is covering.
Then we respond to Murder Hornet. He's talking about the VA. We're both VA guys. You know, have you ever seen the movie VFW? Or what was it? Predator? The new Predator with the crazy VFW guys? Yeah, we're like that. The crazy VFW guys. Anyway, or VA guys. Anyway, he says the VA sucks now. Yeah, it does. It fucking sucks. It doesn't work. You got to do all your own shit. They tell you to make an appointment with radiologists and stuff, and they want you to keep track of all the dates and get back. They don't talk to each other anymore. So to get appointments done, to tell your doctor, the VA is non-functional. It's falling apart.
Although I always had private insurance, and they always make you do that too. They don't keep track of shit.
Yeah, but it used to be, no, they would make all the appointments for you.
Right.
Like, I'm going to send you to the radiologist. I'll make an appointment with him. Yeah. And then you get it in the mail. A report here at this date to get your fucking x-ray or whatever. No, they make you call them now and set the date. Man, I can't remember what date I was supposed to set that for.
Tom doesn't remember shit.
No. No, fucking I don't remember numbers too well. I'm really bad with dates. Jen will tell you that time, I have no concept of time.
No, absolutely not.
Nope.
He has no idea what time it is.
Yep.
He has no idea what day it is.
Yep. And I can't tell the difference between 2 hours and like 6 hours. It's about the same to me. It feels about the same.
Yeah. That's why I always have to go in and like remind him like what time it is all the time.
Yep.
It's like, hey, time to do the show.
Yep.
I feel like a nag, like having to go in there and like say every time, but he does. He always forgets.
If you were to ask me what day it was, I'd be like, I'd have to think about it. I might say, I don't know.
I don't know.
Most of the time, I couldn't tell you what the
17?
date was. I mostly couldn't tell you.
Well, I usually.
And a lot of times, I can't tell you what month it is.
I usually have to look up what day it is, what the date is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So. Danny Rolling said Tom's the dyslexic count from Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Head injuries.
It'll do that.
Head injuries will fuck up your sense of time.
Yeah.
You don't care about time anymore.
Yeah, you're just all in a constant state of now.
Yeah, it's just right now.
That's pretty much Tom's world. We're all it's just all like
an animal.
Like right now. Yeah. It's all the present moment.
Yeah.
He's not worried about the future, or well, no, you are kind of you.
No, I know about the future.
You think about the past a lot too.
Yeah,
But I kind of feel like, yeah. All right, so are we ready to get into this extremely depressing?
Looks like we got a lot of people in here now. Is ready to go. I'd say a lot of people. It's 25 people.
Well, that's a lot for us.
That's a lot for this show.
Like I said, we're like the Velvet Underground of YouTube shows. Like only the cool people listen to us, but nobody else does.
Yeah. They listen to us recorded over time.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Zach says, so Tom is experiencing the spectacular now. Yeah, he is, actually.
Yeah, the Mego says the same thing. You got to call them more than once to get anything sorted. Yeah, they're fucked up now. Yeah, VA is fucked up.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing. Anything that has all of that kind of...
It used to work like a well-oiled machine. I just think the machine's falling apart. That's what I think. If the VA's falling apart, that means everything else is falling apart. I know the Army is fucked up. There's no Army there. The public hasn't realized it. But no, as far as from everything I've heard, and this is at the Pentagon level too, there's also no generals. Every general they have is doing another job, and they have no military backgrounds. So there's no generals. It's just a big jobs program.
Danny Rolling said, what's tonight's killer's name? Well, that's the thing. Nobody knows, because this case is unsolved. They don't know who this fucker is. And it could be more than one person. It might be more than one person. I kind of suspect it might be. I don't know if it was more than one person that did the canonical 4 victims, but there were probably more victims, which, like I said, we'll get into in a little bit. All right. So this killer, who we don't know who it is, known as the Oakland County child killer, sometimes known as the babysitter or the babysitter killer as well, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but okay.
So they never caught this guy?
No.
Okay.
They have not.
He is at large.
He is at large. Hopefully he's dead, but they do have some suspects, which we'll get into in a bit. Some of the suspects are dead. Some of them are already in prison, but, you know, like I said, we'll get into that. They don't really know exactly who this might be. So the canonical 4 victims happened between, it's about a period of a year, between 1976 and 1977. All of them took place in Oakland County, Michigan, which is kind of an affluent area north of Detroit. Things the victims all had in common, now there were a lot of differences too, which we'll get into in a bit, but the similarities were the victims were all held captive before being killed for various periods of time. Also, so I lost my place for a second. They had like some DNA that has kind of implicated 2 suspects indirectly. As I said, one of whom is dead. The other is in prison for something else. But the matching DNA that they have, that they created the DNA profile of the perpetrator from samples on the victims, doesn't match anybody that they know of yet. So the victims in this case, it was actually 2 little girls and 2 little boys. All of them aged between 10 and 12 years old. All of them disappeared while they were going from their house to another location, usually like to a store or something like that, or were coming home from a store, something. They were all last seen within a mile of Woodward Avenue in Oakland County. All of them, as I said, had been held captive for a time. All of them were fed and taken care of. Their bodies were washed, their clothes were washed, and they were redressed. So they were all bathed and everything. All of the victims had dog hair on their bodies from the same white dog. That's how they knew that those 4 were related, even though the methods of murder were different in several of the cases. So, but there were a lot of differences too, like I said, which we'll get into in a bit.
What ages were they?
10 to 12.
Okay.
Also, another thing that they had in common, all of the kids' bodies were discovered in a very public area. Obviously, the killer wanted them found within 19 days of them disappearing.
Boys and girls?
Yeah. The kids were either strangled, smothered, or shot. The 2 boys were sexually assaulted. The 2 girls were not. The bodies, like I said, were usually dumped in very public areas, usually where they could be seen from a major road. So that obviously the killer wanted them to be found. As I said, the investigation here was at the time the largest murder investigation in U.S. history, which is kind of odd considering that a lot of people don't talk about this case that much anymore. 4 that they know of.
And how many of those were shot?
2 of them were shot, I believe.
Do you know where?
Or wait, no, 1 of them was shot. Well, I'll get. Well, yeah, just.
I'm already profiled.
Well, yeah, but let me talk about stuff before you jump to conclusions, because I know how you do. You try to figure everything out before I've told you anything.
Okay. I'm computing that shit, man.
Right, but
it.
Right, but I haven't told you.
Trying to put this
I haven't
motherfucker
told you
together
anything.
already.
I haven't told you anything yet.
Okay, I know that. Well, just victimology.
I haven't told you anything.
Just victimology tells me some stuff. Just studying who the victims are, knowing how they died, it helps. Okay.
Okay. So the first victim, and these are the 4 confirmed victims. Like I said, there were several that are possibly related to the series, which I'll get into like at the end after we talk about suspects and stuff like that. But the first of the canonical 4 victims was named Mark Stebbins, and he was 12 years old. So on the day after Valentine's Day, February 15th, 1976, it was about 1:30 in the afternoon, and he talked to his mom on the phone. Now, he was at the American Legion Hall. I think he, volunteered there or something like that. And he called her and said that he was heading home. He was going back to the house. And it wasn't far. It was only like a few blocks or something. However, he never got there. His older brother got home later on and thought it was strange that his brother was not there. His brother had wanted to go home specifically because his little brother was really into war movies. And there was a movie coming on TV that he really wanted to watch. And so he was leaving the American Legion Hall early so he could go home and watch this movie. So his brother thought it was really weird that he got home and, Mark was not there. So he hadn't come home by 11 o'clock p.m. So his mom obviously panicked and called the police to report him missing. They gave him the runaround at first, like they did a lot. Oh, the kid's just a runaway. You have to wait 24 hours, blah, blah, blah. There was that whole thing. Now, they found him, obviously they looked everywhere for him and they didn't find him. They didn't find him until 4 days later, February 19th. There was a kind of a businessman who was walking his dog kind of toward this drugstore, like behind a strip mall type situation. I think it's called the New Orleans Mall. And he saw what he thought was a mannequin. Now, if you know anything about true crime, you know that it's never a fucking mannequin. Sadly, it's always like a dead body. I mean, I guess every now and then it might be a mannequin. It might be
in rigor mortis, you know what I mean? So the arms are up and it's like it's something came out of a store window. It's probably what they're talking about.
But it's just, it kills me that every time somebody finds a body and it's like they find a body just laying on the side of the road, they're always like, well, I thought it was a mannequin at first. It's like, it's never a mannequin. And it was not in this case either. Now, so the body was dressed. He had all his clothes on. So the guy's just kind of like, holy shit, that's a kid's body. This was about 11, about 11:45 in the morning, 11:45. Now, when they kind of asked around, there was another person that had been walking their dog in the same area early, like about 2 hours earlier, about 9:30 in the morning, and they had not seen the body. And they were like, now, if that body had been there at 9:30, the dog would have smelled it, would have found it. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't hidden. Yeah. I saw the crime scene photos. It was right there.
So between 9 and 11, it was dumped.
So at some point between 9:30 and 11:45, the body was dumped, they thought. So Mark, the victim, he was in 7th grade at Lincoln Junior High School. He was kind of a quiet kid, just only about 100 pounds, 4'8". Now, they said that his cause of death was asphyxia. He'd been smothered. There were also rope burns on his neck, his wrists, and his ankles. He'd obviously been tied up.
Bondage.
And he had also been sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
As I said, he had been bathed and his clothes had been washed and put back on him before he was dumped. Now, there was kind of a fuck up with the, I guess the autopsy team, like, washed the body, which I guess they're not really supposed to do, but they washed it, like, earlier than they should have, which, you know, that gets rid of evidence. So they couldn't get any fingerprints off the body or anything like that. So that was the first victim. The second victim was also 12 years old, but this time it was a girl, and it was Jill Robinson. Now, this was December 22nd, 1976. Now, her and her mom had an argument. From what they said, she was kind of going through that teenage or preteen phase where, you know, you're like, you're not the boss of me and you can't tell me what to, you know, a lot of teenagers go through that. So she had an argument with her mom. Her mom wanted her to stay home and make biscuits for dinner, and Jill said no. And her mom, whose name was Carol, got really mad at her and said, well, why don't you just get out of here and come back when you can be part of this family? Which I'm sure she probably regrets, like, saying that now, because this was the last time that she saw her daughter, which is fucked up. So Jill actually goes into her room. She packs a little backpack and she leaves the house. Now, she went off on her bike. Now, her mom was not alarmed because, one, it's the 70s, and two, her daughter had done it before, and she just said, oh, you know, she's just mad. She'll just ride her bike to her friend's house or the neighbor's house, or she'll go to her dad's house, which wasn't that far away because the parents were divorced. You know, and then when she's over it, she'll come back, because she had done it before. And it was only like, you know, it was only a few days before Christmas. She was really looking forward to Christmas, and she said, well, she's not going to stay away for that. She'll be back, like, soon. So that's why she wasn't super worried about it. Now, apparently the girl was seen by a friend at, like, a hobby shop on Woodward Avenue, and that was only a few blocks away from her house. Now, the girl was gone pretty much all day and night. Now, her dad was the one that reported her missing, like, the following morning, I believe it was. Now, some people did say that they had seen her, like, at a donut shop, like, around 6:30 in the morning, like, on the day that her dad reported her missing. I don't know if that's true or not, but some people did say they saw her there. Now, her body was not found for several days. Again, 4 days. They found her the day after Christmas. And she was found on the side of I-75. Now, interestingly, what happened in this, she was not sexually assaulted. She had also been bathed. She had been redressed. She had all her clothes on. The killer brought her to this area and shot her with a shotgun in the head, or some sources say the face, just right where she stood, like an execution, and then just left her there. But she had also been kept in captivity for several days. But then, for whatever reason, the killer just took her out to the side of the road and shot her, and then just left her there. But did not sexually assault her.
When did they find the body?
Like 4 days later.
Yeah, what time?
I don't know.
What, he did that in the middle of the night, or he did that in the daytime?
I have no idea.
He must have done that in the middle of the night, when there wasn't much traffic.
Yeah, because from my understanding, the place where they found the body was a fairly high traffic area.
Yeah. Took her out and blasted her. He wasn't happy with her.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He wasn't happy with her. She wasn't sexually assaulted. Maybe she struggled too much.
Yeah, not sure.
And said something to him, pissed him off. He kept her for a few days. He tried to break her or something. Didn't work. He didn't get what he wanted out of her. He went out and fucking blew her head off.
Which is
face off.
Yeah, it's a 12-year-old fucking girl.
Yeah, but this dude doesn't care.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
He's mentally fucking not there.
Yeah, this is fucked up.
He imagined it going down a certain way, didn't go that way. He was frustrated.
Maybe so.
Couldn't get her to cooperate. He killed her. The boy cooperated in some way.
Yeah. So I believe that Jill Robinson was the only one that was shot.
Yeah.
The other ones were, like I said, strangled or suffocated, but she was shot. And he just took her because they said she died where her body was found. Not that I know of. I don't think she'd been tied up.
That's how he
I'm
got
not
her.
really sure.
So when they found her on the ground, she wasn't tied up though.
No.
She wasn't restrained.
Mm-mm. Well, the first kid wasn't either, but he had like burn marks.
Yeah,
from
but he was
rope.
dead when he was delivered.
Yeah.
All right. She was killed on the spot, which means he drove her there. She was alive.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling he lied to her about.
Maybe he told her he was gonna let her go.
Let her go. And she got out of the car and he shot her. Shot her with a shotgun.
That's fucking horrible.
Which tells me it's probably a sawed-off shotgun, something more portable than the long gun.
Yeah.
He had a shotgun. It was probably sawed off. Something short, about a foot long. Double barreled, probably.
It's fucking horrible. I mean, can you fucking imagine? I can't imagine.
We didn't have a pistol, probably. He would have used a pistol if he had it, but he had a sawed-off shotgun. He had a shotgun he turned into a pistol. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So the shotgun itself was that's just because that's what he had.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to make a mess in his own house. So he took her to a place where he was going to dump her and shot her there. But she was under fault. She thought he was letting her. She thought that he was going to let her go. Probably in the final minutes, he says you basically cussed her and fucking shot her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again, folks, this is a grown man and a 12-year-old girl.
Mentally, he's about like that level probably anyway.
Yeah, no telling.
He's definitely a pedophile.
Yeah, a PDF file. Well, yeah, they know that. Like I said, we'll get into
Definitely.
We'll get into all that kind of shit later on, because
Yeah.
man, this area at this time, I don't know about nowadays, but man, there were just PDF files all over the fucking place. Place was lousy with PDF files. You know, just they kept uncovering more. Like during the investigation, they're just kind of like, well, this guy isn't the killer, but oh look, we found this nest of other PDF files. Look at that. It was just in this one area. You know, they're fucking everywhere. So the third victim is named Christine Mihalich, I think is how Mihalich or Mihalik. I'm not really sure how you pronounce her last name. Now this girl was 10. Again, the first three victims, I think their parents were divorced. The weird thing about it is they seem to be targeting specific kind of kids. They were usually like children of divorce, which is common nowadays, but in the 70s wasn't quite as common. Also, the first three kids were sort of said to be kind of introverted or quote unquote loners. The fourth one, which we'll get into, not so much, but these first three were.
Well, they're more likely to be walking around by themselves.
Yeah,
That's
probably.
That's all it is.
Probably. But yeah, so this girl was 10. Like I said, she was in the 5th grade. She was in elementary school. Now, she was last seen alive January 2nd, 1977, so the day after New Year's. She'd been at the bowling alley where her mom worked, and she was just walking over to 7-Eleven, like to get a magazine or something. Now, her body was found by a mailman lying in a snowbank at the end of a dead-end street in Franklin Village, I think is the name of the place. Now, this was on January 21st, so she was gone the longest. They didn't find her for 19 days.
He keeps them for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, the previous two had been kept for 4 days.
Yeah.
This girl was kept the longest, 19 days, because when they found her body, she hadn't been dead that long.
Yeah,
so he'd been keeping her somewhere.
He liked her. That's why he kept her for so long. So she was giving him what he wanted.
Yeah.
She was going along with it.
Maybe so.
And then he got bored with her. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
or she just couldn't take it anymore. Started talking shit. So then he killed her in some way.
But yeah, so they, like I said, all of these happened like in the winter time too. So it was like super snowy. Like you said, it's kind of like Siberia. Yeah. This is fucked up. But when they found her body, it was so frozen that they couldn't even do an autopsy on it. Like they had to wait for it to like thaw out. She was like,
but it hadn't been there
like
long.
Frozen solid. Well, and she hadn't been dead long.
Okay.
Like I said, this is January in Michigan.
Yeah.
So it's
what was the
it's
death?
fucking cold.
Cause of death?
Well, I haven't got to that yet.
Okay.
Now they found no signs of violence on the body. She was not sexually assaulted. She was wearing the same clothes that she had last been seen in, which again had been washed. Now, her cause of death was listed as suffocation.
Yeah.
So
This not sexually assaulted. That's bullshit. She was sexually assaulted. It's just not in the way that showed up.
well, and some people have said that too. It's because a lot of people were like, oh well, the boys were very clearly sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
The two boys, which we'll get into the fourth one, which is also a boy in a minute. And the two girls didn't look like they were, but like you said, that doesn't necessarily mean that there weren't, because there are other ways to sexually assault somebody that wouldn't necessarily show up.
Yeah, I what I'm assuming is that when they checked, the hymens were intact, so they were technically virgins. But he may have been oral or manual stuff happening.
That's what I
That's all
mean,
I
and
got,
that
but-
wouldn't show up obviously. Like, what if,
Right.
like, what if, not to be gross, but what if he had like forced his dick into her mouth or something like that? Like, obviously that wouldn't show up
Or just-
on an autopsy.
Talked her into just blowing him.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah. So the thing is
And that's still absolutely sexual assault,
Yeah.
but that doesn't show up
yeah.
on.
Well, he kept that one for a long time, so she was probably going along with it. Scared.
Well, yeah.
You're gonna do this.
I mean,
this is
she's
what we're gonna
10.
do. Yeah, this is what you're gonna do, and probably telling her, teaching her what to do, and she did it until he got sick of her, or she got sick of doing this, and she started rebelling, and then okay, time for you to go. Yeah, the other one, he probably tried to get what he wanted out of her for days. Something happened. He took it personally, and he shot her in the face.
Yeah, or in the back of the head. Like I said,
Yeah.
I've seen sources that
And
say
that was
either thing.
close range, and probably something like a 20 gauge or a 12 gauge if you can't tell the fucking front from the back. I've seen headshots from fucking 12 gauge up close, suicides, photographs of it. It's a mess. But he was probably right up on her. It blows right through it, especially if it's something like buckshot, which is a heavier pellet. And the same thing with a slug. It'd probably be, well, you'd probably see powder burns if it was at contact distance. You'd know what was front and back. Just the forensics of the time and who's doing the test may not have known. In those days, ballistic science wasn't as fucking easily researched as it is today. I mean, today you can go on YouTube and see guys shooting ballistic gelatin torsos that have fake skeletons in it and show you exactly what these things do at different ranges, different calibers and stuff. So back in those days, some of the shit that fucking these guys on YouTube are testing and doing and evaluating, when I was a kid in the 80s reading Guns and Ammo, what they were doing was fucking what they're doing today is light years ahead of what we knew back then.
Well, that's kind of true of pretty much
yeah.
everything that's going on nowadays. We're like way ahead of
They
how we
can
were
get a
back
little fucking camera for $200 that has such good high-speed photographic capabilities that can capture a bullet in flight in slow motion. Now, and in the 80s, man, that was $1 million camera that did that. So, almost nobody had that.
We
Maybe
kind of take
FBI
it for
had.
granted how
Yeah.
easy everything is nowadays. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which I try not to take it for granted because I remember when shit wasn't like that.
Right.
But now it's just like getting any information, getting shit is so easy. And like a lot of stuff that'll do like amazing shit is like super cheap.
Yeah. But just telling you that he shot her in the head with a shotgun instead of just smothering her or strangling her, because that's an easier way to go. That was malice. He was mad at that one. That one didn't go well for him. And he only kept her 4 days. So,
Although the first one, their first boy was only kept for 4 days also. They found him 4
well, he
days
probably
later.
got sick of that shit too.
And he definitely was raped.
Yeah, and he was also tied up, which means he was struggling.
Yeah.
So, I got a feeling that's not what he wants. He wants a
Someone who's submissive.
submissive
Like it'll
or
do
into
whatever
it.
it'll do whatever he said.
Yeah, he wants somebody who's into it.
Which,
Hard to
good
find
luck
that.
with that. Like
Hard to
just
find
snatching
that.
12-year-olds
By
off the
snatching
fucking
kids.
street.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he's trying to fulfill a fantasy.
Yeah, how about don't do that? You know?
He's fucking nuts.
Yeah, no shit. And like I said, we still don't know who this motherfucker is.
Yeah.
I mean, he might be dead. He might be in prison for something else. I don't really know. But nobody really knows exactly who he is. So the
He's
fourth...
trying to abduct a little underage porn star.
Yeah,
But that's
I
not
guess
what's
so.
happening.
Yeah.
He's getting mad.
Which, is so stupid. It's like, what
He's
the
trying to
fuck?
figure out-
What the fuck do you expect? You just like snatch random ass
He's
kids
a
off the
lunatic.
street. Yeah.
He's a lunatic, and
And then you're like shocked when it doesn't go the way you think it's gonna go. It's like, what? Yeah, what did you think was gonna happen, idiot?
And he's also trying to adapt to this to see if he can train one. You know, so he's trying to figure out. You know, should he use the stick or the carrot? You know, he's trying to figure out psychology, how to get him to do this. For the thing with the girls is that it sounds like he was into virgins. Some guys will just fucking rape, you know.
Yeah.
Do it.
Maybe so.
But for some reason, there was something about their virginity was attractive to him.
Yeah, that's kind of messed up. I always wondered why some dudes had like an obsession with that.
Because they're untouched and innocent. So you're getting an innocent girl to do this. And if you pop a seal on it, in your mind, in his fantasy, she's no longer totally innocent. She's not brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a weird.
You got to put yourself in the shoes of these fucking things.
Yeah, I know.
And I could do it just by just going straight primal to the fucking gutter, you know, of how fucking immature motherfucker would see it.
Well, like I said, intellectually I understand that, but I don't, you know, obviously I can't relate to that, and it just seems really alien to me because that's not the way I think about stuff. But like I said, it's, you know, intellectually I get it. Like, it makes sense when it's explained, like, why they would think that.
I understand all kinds of
well,
kink.
that makes sense, but...
I understand all kinds of kink. There's a lot of fucking dark side kink I'm not into, but I can understand
why someone would...
why
yeah, I do.
The motive.
Yeah.
I can see the motive.
Right.
You know.
Which, like I said, and I've said this many times before, I don't have a problem with it as long as everyone is over the correct age and everyone is consenting. Do what you want. But the minute you start involving people that aren't consenting or people that are underage, then we've got a big problem.
What he's going for here is virgins of both sexes. That's the thing. He's into this innocence thing. And he's trying to get an innocent little porn star of both sexes. That's basically, he's somebody who's gonna fucking deliver. That's what it feels like.
And maybe he's trying out both things to see what he likes better.
I think he knows what he likes. I think he's bisexual, but he's trying to figure out how to get it from him, out of him.
Yeah.
Because evidently there's a right way and a wrong way. Because you can tell by how long that they're living and how he kills them.
Yeah.
What happens to them in the end. They're all gonna die. But some of them are going to die worse than the others.
Yeah.
And later than the others.
Right.
So that girl lasted 14 days.
19 days.
Or 19 days. And then he just strangled that one.
Or smothered her.
Or smothered her. To him, that's like a peaceful way to go. That's the way he sees it. Like a euthanasia. That's how he sees it. So she did pretty well in his mind. For a little while. I think he wants to keep him.
Yeah.
He wants to keep them, I think, for years.
Yeah, because there are some of these motherfuckers that'll do that.
Yeah.
They'll just like, remember, did we do a show about, remember those people that had that girl and they kept her in that box under the bed?
Yeah. They kept her there for what, 9 years?
It was a long time.
And
then,
she survived. That was weird. And he was doing weird shit to her. He put her head in a box too. Would leave her head in a box for days.
I don't remember if we did a show about that or not, but that is.
I think we did that show.
That is a messed up.
It's called The Girl in a Box.
Yeah, that's a messed up case. Yeah, they kept her in a box under the bed, and it was a couple that was doing it.
Yeah.
Which.
Yeah.
That always like blows my mind. I'd say, you know, it's no offense to dudes, but it's just like it doesn't shock me like when dudes do shit like this. But when it's a couple, because we've done some shows about killer couples. We used to do one every Valentine's Day, which I know is messed up, but the dynamic of that is just so fascinating to me.
Yeah, well, what's weird in that particular case you just talked about, that his wife was terrified of it.
Yeah, see, that's another thing too. It's like it's not always like sometimes you get a case where the woman is just as messed up or more messed up than he is. But a lot of times too, I think it's a kind of case of him either threatening her into it or talking her into it, like a frog in boiling water situation.
Yeah.
Or she's trying to impress him by doing worse shit than he's doing.
Well, that British couple, the girls that survived that British couple said that the woman was worse.
Who, Fred and Rosemary West?
Yeah, Rosemary West. They said that they were much more afraid of her, and she was weird. She was doing weird shit to her own sons and stuff. So she was weird too.
Yeah, I mean, there's weirdos of both
Yeah.
sexes, that's for sure.
She'd leave porn out for the little boys' sons to find it, and then she'd go in there and spank them for long periods of time for watching porn and doing kind of sexual shit for 'em with weird.
It's a weird situation.
It's a weird family.
And we haven't done a show about it, but
Yeah.
if you guys have read the Jack Ketchum novel, The Girl Next Door, which is based on Sylvia Likens, I don't think we've done a show about her. I have been wanting to for a while, even though that's a fucking messed up case too. But that was actually not a couple. That was just a woman, and she did some messed up shit.
Yeah.
And that was like back in the 50s or 60s or something like that. That woman was a lunatic. But yeah, Mango said the West were seriously fucked up. Oh yeah, big time. There's some, and that's the thing. Like, I write about true crime a lot, and I read about true crime a lot, so it's just kind of like, so I'm always kind of like, trust no one. You know what I mean? But, most people are relatively normal, but, you gotta watch your ass, because there are some real fucked up people out there. Really fucked up. Including this motherfucker. Or motherfuckers. This could be more than one person. I'm kind of...
I think it's him.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, you haven't heard all the information yet.
He might have had a sidekick. There's no way of knowing.
So the fourth canonical victim was named Timothy King, and he was 11. And he was last seen on March 16th, 1977. Now, he borrowed 30 cents from his older sister so he could go down to the pharmacy and buy some candy. It was only 3 blocks. He had done it many, many times before. It was evening, I believe. Now, he actually went to the store, and the lady that worked at the store said, yeah, he came in and bought candy. It was about 8:30 at night, and he left the store through the back door. Like, there was a parking lot back there, and there wasn't really a lot of light, so it was kind of like dark back there, because it's wintertime, you know what I mean? Now, he had been planning to come right back home, because his older sister was going out, but he said to his older sister, hey, can you leave the door to the house ajar, because I don't have my key, you know what I mean, so I can get back in the house. So she did that, and then she went out, but Timothy never came home. His parents came home at 9 o'clock and did not find him there and were alarmed. So they started looking everywhere for him, and then the next morning they called the cops to look for him. Now, there had actually, aside from, him being the fourth one that had been missing and been murdered, there had also been a couple of other missing persons cases that weren't related to this one. So Timothy was actually the 7th child that had gone missing in this area in this time period. So everyone was a little on edge, as you might imagine. So they actually the cops set up kind of like a headquarters type of thing, like only a few blocks from his house, and started canvassing the neighborhood looking for him. However, they did not find him until March 23rd. I think it's 23rd. I can't really see. Yeah, 23rd, 1977. They found him in a ditch alongside of a road in Livonia. Now, he was actually found by a passing motorist. And again, he was just right. It was like a real busy intersection, and he was just found in a ditch, right there, off the side of the road. Again, he had the same clothes on that he had been wearing when he disappeared. And his skateboard, which he had actually ridden to the pharmacy, was found about 15 feet away.
So he must have been in the back seat. Dude stops at a light, or just stops when no cars are around him. Jumps out, opens the rear passenger seat, throws the boy out. He's big. He's strong enough to just grab him by an arm, throw his ass out, and then throw the skateboard out, and drive off before the other cars catch up with him.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. So he's probably driving around until there's a break in traffic. It's probably not a pre-planned area just a general area where he's going to dump the body.
Like I said, he seemed to want the bodies to be found because he was dumping them in really high traffic areas.
Yeah, he might be reading into it too much. It might just be that he wasn't all that careful. He just was like, well, as long as no one sees me do it, there's no reason why I should go out of my way dumping his body, He just did it off of a road from away from where he lived.
Yeah.
Wasn't the kind of guy to just go out fucking in the wilderness or, bury the kid, He wasn't that kind of guy. That's what I'm thinking it is. He's just it's minimal effort, I think.
Yeah. So they did an autopsy Just like the other victims, he had been bathed and, you know, his clothes had been washed and he'd been redressed before he was killed by being suffocated. There was also evidence that he had been, again, sexually assaulted, just like the other boy. And he had been fed KFC, which was his favorite thing to eat before he was killed. So
he's trying to befriend him.
Yeah.
And he's not telling him that's the last meal. He's just, what's your favorite place? And then he ate it, and then he killed
which,
him.
Like I said, is fucking heartbreaking when you think about that. This is an 11-year-old kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How long did he have him?
He disappeared. Let me see. He disappeared on March 16th, right? It's March 16th, and then they found him on the 23rd.
You had him for a few days, 5 or 6 days, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he didn't have anything.
So for 7 days.
A week. Yeah. So strangely, in this dude's mind, that kid did well. He didn't have anything against him, but he's got to kill them all. That's part of his thing. Fed him his last meal and killed him. Cold-blooded.
Cold-blooded. It is very cold-blooded.
Yeah.
So it was
he thinks he's doing him a favor, though.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
So it was at this stage that the cops finally kind of clued into the fact that this was a serial killer. So at this point, they did a task force, and like I said, they started like the largest manhunt in U.S. history at the time. Like, obviously, it's been superseded since that time, but at the time it was, back in the 70s. Meanwhile, Timothy King's dad, Barry King, established a fund in his son's honor. They're trying to kind of give financial assistance to abused children and things of that nature. Although, sadly, Barry King died in 2020 without ever finding out what happened to his son. I believe he was in his 80s, which is pretty shitty. But he ran that fund like that whole 40-something years, like up until he died.
So, this kid was 10.
11.
The girl that got shot in the face was 12.
Mm-hmm.
The other boy was what?
Was also 12, and then the other girl was 10.
10. Got the feeling that he got better at doing what he was doing as he went along.
Yeah, maybe so.
That's yeah. He thinks he got better at it. I think he basically kind of got what he wanted out of that last one. Kept him for 10 days.
It was 7 days. It was
7 days.
I think.
Played around with him and then got bored with him, but gave him an easy death and a reward and an easy death in his mind. So he was just trying to erase the kid the kid had happened. You know what I mean? Like it never happened type of deal. The girl shooting the girl in the face, man, there was some bad blood there, but she was fighting with her mom. So she was probably pretty defiant.
Yeah.
She says something to him that assaulted him. Then he's like, that's it, I'm going to kick this chick out and kill her. Do something bad to her. But he probably didn't tell her that she was going to kill her. He probably told her he was going to let her go. Or why would she, she would have jumped out of the car.
Right. Yeah, because I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, you're not taking me anywhere. I'd rather jump out and get some fucking road rash.
Yeah.
than be taken to another location. I don't think she was tied up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, didn't appear that she'd been tied up when they found her. So, not long after Timothy King had vanished, there was a witness, a woman, and she told the police that she had seen, allegedly, a boy carrying a skateboard, because like I said, Timothy King had ridden a skateboard to get candy. And she said that she'd seen this kid talking to somebody in the parking lot of the pharmacy, like on March 16th, the day that he disappeared. So she was able to give them a good enough description for them to do like a composite drawing. And she also said that he was driving a blue AMC Gremlin. So at this stage in this area, they actually suspended the Fourth Amendment. They pulled over and searched every single gremlin that was on the road that they spotted. And as another documentary I was watching said, it's like probably some people that drove gremlins got pulled over and searched like multiple times, because how many of them could there possibly be in that area? I don't know. How common was the gremlin back then? I feel like it wasn't that common.
Well, they had Pacers and Gremlins and
there
Pintos
there was a lot of cars that kind of looked the same. Now,
why did they think he had a gremlin?
Because this woman said that she'd seen a boy with a skateboard talking to somebody that was standing next to a gremlin in the parking lot of the pharmacy where the kid had gone to buy candy.
Okay.
She said.
All right.
Like on the day that he disappeared.
Yeah. All right.
So they got all
That's a
up
good
in
lead.
yes, they got all up in this AMC Gremlin thing. They kind of found out later that either the Gremlin thing was either like maybe just a red herring, like maybe that wasn't even the guy, or the car was maybe disposed of like shortly after that lead came to light. Like the killer was like, oh shit, now they're gonna be looking for that, so like maybe dumped it in a ravine or like a fucking quarry or something. Or she might have been mistaken about what kind of car it was. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll get into that like a little bit too. So at this point, they establish a profile. Like I said, they were able to do like a composite drawing of what they thought that he looked like. Now, this was the guy that she said that she had seen talking to the kid with the skateboard. She said the guy looked between 25 and 35 years old. Had kind of a dark, he was a white guy, but he had kind of a dark complexion, had real shaggy hair and sideburns, which it's the 70s. A lot of people had that. And they also surmised, just from the kind of the way that the crimes were committed, they said it could be that this dude what maybe had a kind of profession or a kind of demeanor that made him seem not threatening. At some stages, they even thought maybe he dressed as a cop or a priest, or maybe he was a teacher or something like that, like something that the kids would not immediately distrust him. You know what I mean? So they were kind of operating on that assumption too. They also thought this was a person that's very familiar with the area, and, you know, had some kind of house where they either lived alone or where they could keep these kids for a long time without anyone being suspicious about it. So there's that. The profiler, they did kind of do like a psychological profile on the guy. And they thought that the killer was probably maybe more intelligent and educated than average. Was probably gay. They thought that he had a regular 9-to-5 job that gave him a lot of vacation time in the winter months, because that's when most of this shit happened. And I'm not really sure how they figured this out, but they said they thought the dude was probably seeing a therapist, like a psychiatrist. Not really sure how they got that out of all of this stuff.
How do they get gay out of that? If he was gay, he wouldn't have abducted girls.
Well, yeah, well, I think they were operating on the assumption that because the boys were obviously raped and the girls were not, I think that was maybe, and maybe they had some other information that I'm not privy to, that made them think that. No, but like you said, it doesn't, just because the girls weren't obviously like vaginally or anally raped, that doesn't mean they weren't sexually assaulted in other ways. Yeah. You know what I mean?
He had different kinks.
Look at somebody like, you know, I know we bring up BTK a lot, but look at somebody like BTK. He never like raped anybody. Yeah. But the crimes were still sexual. Right. And he did like jerk off on that little dead girl.
Yeah. Didn't have sex with her, but he jerked off on her.
Like after she was dead. Yeah. Which, like I said, that's still, I don't know, you know, that's.
He's weird.
Yeah. So I'm saying there's lots of other ways to look at that.
I think he was bisexual. He just wanted different things. He had different standards for different sexes, different genders of person. Things he wanted to do with boys and things he wanted to do with girls. They're just being narrow-minded.
Yeah, but like I said, that might have been like what they would have thought back then.
Back then, right.
Like I think nowadays they'd maybe have like a broader look at it. But I think, like I said, they might be using other information that I don't know. But I'm assuming that because the boys were obviously raped and the girls were not obviously raped.
Why would you go through all the hassle and the risk of abducting a female if you weren't going to get any gratification out of it?
Yeah, because that's what I'm. You're generally your PDF file serial killers. Yeah. Will generally kidnap whatever gender they're into. Yeah. So you're going to have one that just kidnaps little boys or one that just kidnaps little girls. It's very unusual to find one that'll kidnap either one.
Yeah, but I think this is one of them.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And he just has a different fantasy for each one.
Yeah.
For each sex, each gender.
Yeah, and like you said, and it might have just been a failure of the imagination of the investigators back then. I got a feeling
that when it came to girls, he liked virgins.
Yeah.
That was his thing. He didn't want to take their virginity.
Which is, that's weird. But I see where you're, Yeah. I mean, that does sound kind of plausible to me.
Yeah. He had different standards for him.
Yeah. Bad Done Well says they're back. The coolest people you'd ever meet at a bar.
Yeah.
We are actually, and you will meet us at many different bars because we go to bars all the time. He says they got their tasty drinks. I'd join you, but I just woke up and I don't like to drink within the first hour, the first 3 hours of waking. Yeah, I got vodka and it's cran pineapple actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, see here it's like 8:30 at night, so it's fine. It's fine that we drink. So I was gonna say I need a refill, but I guess I don't.
Finish that first.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't have any more of that cran.
Yeah, I was using it up.
Yeah.
So before we get on to the cracking open the new orange juice. Yeah. So here's something weird, and I don't know if this has anything to do with anything. But a few weeks after Timothy King was murdered, there was, as I mentioned, they had set up a task force at this point because they're, obviously it's a serial killer. Now, they had a psychiatrist on the task force, and he received a letter, presumably addressed to him. And this letter, which was written very badly, it was misspellings everywhere. This was written by somebody who called themselves Alan. This person claimed that they were the sadomasochistic slave of the killer, who they called Frank. And we'll get into later, like, why the Frank thing might be significant. Now, Alan explained that him and Frank had served together in Vietnam, and that Frank had been horribly traumatized by having to kill children while he was in Vietnam, and that he decided that he was going to take revenge on richer people for sending them to Vietnam in the first place, which again sounds like a reach, but okay.
Sounds fishy as shit.
It does.
Yeah.
But this person that wrote this letter, Alan, who said he was his slave, he said, I'm going crazy over here. I'm in danger. I'm terrified of him. And he said that he was suicidal. And he said that he had actually gone with Frank when Frank was going looking for victims, right? Now, he told the psychiatrist, it's like, look, if you got this letter and, you want to respond to me, then take out an ad, like in the Detroit Free Press on Sunday, that says, Weather Bureau says trees to bloom in 3 weeks. Like, so he'd know that he got it or whatever. Now, he also said in this letter that he's like, I'll send you photos of what I'm talking about if you can guarantee that I will not be prosecuted. Now, the psychiatrist did what he asked, like he ran the ad and he was going to meet up with him and everything like that. But probably not surprisingly, this Allen person did not show up and they never got another letter from him again. So was this just a crank? Probably.
Crank.
But yeah, well, like I said, there was something to do with the name Frank that was kind of like significant later on, but I don't know, that it sounds a little out there to me. But weirder things have happened. You know what I mean? I just thought I would mention it because that's some kind of a weird detail in the case. So while the task force was going, they got almost 20,000 tips, all of which they had to investigate. Now, they actually arrested about 24 people, but it was on unrelated charges. Now, while they were doing this investigation, they came across a multi-state kitty prawns ring, which was operating on North Fox Island in Lake Michigan. So this is kind of like the Epstein's Island before Epstein's Island. Let's put it that way. Because what was going on here that they discovered, and like I said, this might or might not be related to the Oakland County child killer case. There's arguments either way. So they're doing the investigation and they come across this whole thing, this whole PDF file ring. They arrest 2 dudes. One of them is named Frank Sheldon. So like I said, there's Frank. He's a millionaire. He was from Grosse Pointe, Michigan. He was a geologist, I believe, and he was also like heir to this big lumber company fortune or whatever. And then there was also Jerry Richards, his associate, who was a gym teacher. Yeah, That almost seems like too perfect. You know what I mean? He's one of those weird gym teachers that stands in the shower and like watches all the boys naked and pats them on the ass and all that kind of stuff.
Helps people achieve better posture.
Right, that kind of stuff. Yeah, he was like
Make sure
that.
people's
He was
limbs are
like
right.
that.
Yeah.
Like everything that you think about, like the weirdo gym teacher that all of us had in school. Like this guy was like the platonic ideal of that. So yeah. So these two fuck faces. So Sheldon, who like I said was a millionaire, multimillionaire. He actually owned not the entire island, I don't think, North Rocks Island, but a large chunk of it. And what they would do, because they were both PDF files, is that Jerry, the teacher, would evidently, allegedly, kind of recruit boys and then fly them to the island. Now,
Under what auspices?
who knows?
Okay.
I don't really know. So Sheldon, he has the whole fucking island kitted out, man. He's got like a landing strip. He's got like, a boat dock thing. He's got like all these cabins that he built on there. And, he had like the private jet that he flew kids back and forth on there. And he had cameras all over the island. And it was kind of one of those things where like, as soon as you got to the island, because I saw some interviews with some, well, they're not kids now, obviously they're adults, but when they were kids, they had, allegedly been taken to this place.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, like when you got there, like, and usually through the gym teacher, because he's like, hey, we're going to this cool like camp or whatever, like this cool vacation.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's how they talked him into it. They just thought it was like a Boy Scout camp or something.
Yeah.
There's cabins and we're going camping and shit.
Yeah.
So they would take him out there, and then basically as soon as they got there, the boys said it's like, oh, everyone has to take their clothes off now. Like the boys and the adults.
Yeah.
So everybody just has to walk around naked at all times. And there were cameras apparently all over the island, so they would film kitty prawns and then trade it and sell it.
It would immediately become a nudist colony as soon as you showed up.
Essentially, that's what they said. Like that's what, because like I said, I saw some interviews with like some guys that yeah.
Now they would actually, how I'm going to say without getting in trouble.
Well, it's probably too late now.
They would actually transact with these boys, so they just made the boys walk around.
I'm assuming that they did transact with them because one of the guys that was interviewed that said he had been taken there as a child was that, every now and then, like, one of the boys would get taken to one of the cabins or something like that, and, like, you'd hear screaming and shit.
Oh, damn.
So...
Hear him screaming.
Yeah.
How old were these boys? These teenagers or...
No, like preteen.
Oh, shit. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. 10, 11.
Yeah. Not old enough to defend themselves.
Right around that age.
And the parents would have to let them go.
That's what I mean. And they
weren't
said
scared they'd go back to the parents. And
that
say,
was that was the shitty thing was that, like I said, this was a teacher, like in a lot of their schools. So that's kind of how he apparently used his position to recruit a lot of these kids. Hey, we're going on this fun, like I said, like summer camp type shit.
Yeah, billionaires.
And then and it's like, oh, I've got a friend that's got this big island. He's got all these cabins, and it's really neat. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like back then, like little kids be like, yeah, cool.
They tell these kids, they say, look, you're gonna get in trouble if they find out that this shit happened because fucking I'm rich and powerful. We'll flip all this shit around. Your parents don't.
They probably do.
Yeah, your parents don't make anywhere near enough money, okay, to fight us.
Well, look at what when we did the show about Michael Jackson. Now I feel like Michael Jackson wasn't quite as blatant as that.
Yeah.
But dudes that are like PDF files like that, I mean, they're good at like manipulating kids, and a lot of times this is a kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. They don't know, and then this isn't an adult.
The thing is,
who has a lot of power over them, who's telling them.
I'm coming to Jackson's fucking defense. Michael Jackson was smooth. He was a smooth criminal. You're just ignorant. You know what I'm saying? Just ignorant.
Well, that's what I mean. Jackson, he went about it slightly different.
He took time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They call that grooming, is what they call that.
All right. He made sure that the kids loved him. They did. They loved it. They said he did. But then when they got older, they realized, man,
that was fucked up.
Bamboozled me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what's so fucked up about it is that like sometimes the kid doesn't really know.
They're too young to
right.
understand.
It depends. I mean, it depends on the kid.
Yeah.
But I mean, some kids were, just kind of like, oh, well, I guess this is okay. This is an adult, and.
Well, he only had basically adoring fans.
Right.
We're talking about MJ only like super fans.
Yeah.
So he already had him in his pocket.
And you don't really want to think
Yeah.
that like this person that is your idol is a
Yeah.
bad person, you know.
Right.
So I get it,
So you slowly
but I think he
kinda
was
just-
using that to his advantage.
Yeah, but go back and see our Michael Jackson show. Y'all like hadn't
Yeah.
seen it. You'll like.
But what he was doing, that's kind of the point that I was getting at, was like what he was doing is like just on the same spectrum
Yeah.
as what all PDF files do.
Yeah, right.
Especially ones that like to groom. Is you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
sometimes people are like, oh my god, like why would a kid go along or anything like that? One, they're a kid.
Yeah.
Two, especially ones that are kind of more trusting of adults or they're scared of adults. And if the adult like knows how to like talk to them and is just kind of like able to talk them into doing this shit,
Right.
you know, and if that doesn't work, a lot of times they'll threaten them, and
Yeah.
you know the kid is scared. So
It used to be, I thought that Jackson was getting framed, all right, because some of the people that were accusing him had a history of accusing other people. The thing is that he could be a PDF file and be framed at the same time. That was happening.
yeah, that's not mutually
And,
exclusive.
Yeah, both was happening. He was doing that, and he was also being framed by other people that were also made money that way. Just that Jackson, to go back and listen to our show, he had an entire stable. He had lots of them. I was like, that couldn't be. No, but then looking back on it and then hearing the stories from the boys that were involved now that they're adults, it was actually typical male
It's
rock
classic.
star. It's typical male rock star behavior. He just happens to be a PDF file. He had a whole harem of adoring fans that he slept with.
Well, it was
That happened
classic.
to be
Like I said,
underage
it was
and
classic
boys.
grooming,
Classic
and it was
grooming.
probably easier for him because, like I said, he was super famous, and
Yeah.
nobody wants to believe
Yeah.
that anybody that they idolize like that
Yeah.
everybody loves is a terrible person.
And Jackson thought there was nothing wrong with it. He thought he cared about these kids.
Yeah, I do genuinely
He
believe.
wasn't a mean guy. He was just sick.
Yeah,
You know?
I do genuinely believe he,
Yeah, he thought he was
did
doing
not
good.
think that anything was wrong with it,
Yeah, he loved
which
the
just
boys.
shows how messed
He
up
loved the
was.
boys, but he was also a player. He'd make them jealous. He'd go out and sleep with one of them, take them upstairs, and the other one's like, "Oh, we know what they're doing up there. That motherfucker, you know." Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he was like that.
Murder Hornet said, "Love the wig, Jen. Thank you. I really like this one too. Actually, I just got this one on Shein. I think it was like $4 or something. I need to get some more because my other ones are getting kind of full of knots and like all janky
You
and
can
stuff.
get wigs cheap.
They don't last that long.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean? They get kind of
They're disposable.
yeah. Well, they're not real hair. Hey, where are you going with it?
You still got stuff to drink there.
Yeah, but I mean, you could kind of
You
refill
want
it.
ice in it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm running out of ice.
I
And
thought
then,
you could just belt it down.
no, I'm not gonna belt it down. Heaven's sakes. What kind of girl do you think I am? But yeah, so they're taking kids out to this island and filming kitty prawns. So these two fuckers got either arrested or indicted, not sure. Frank Sheldon, the millionaire, because he has a lot of money, so obviously they get away with pretty much everything, as everyone knows. Now, he was able to actually flee the country in 1976, so he was never prosecuted. I don't know where he went to, actually. He might have gone to Holland? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, he fucked off, and they never got him. But he's dead now. He died in 1998. Now, Jerry, the gym teacher, he did get prosecuted for kitty prawns. He is also dead, though, but he did go to prison for it, thankfully. Now, interestingly, as I said, this whole North Fox Island situation only came to light because they were investigating the Oakland County child murders, but they don't think that either of these two fuckheads are the killer. But what they do think, what they theorize is that because this island was going for like 10 years, right? So they think what might have happened is that either someone who was victimized on the island grew up and became a victimizer, like that's one theory, or the other theory was that someone who patronized the island and was an associate of theirs was the killer. But they don't think that either one of those two dudes are the killer. They're both dead now, like I said. And only one of them got punished for the shit because Sheldon, like, fucking took off.
Zach went on Google Earth to go look at the island. He could see the landing strip.
Yeah. See, and that fucking, it's weird, right?
Yeah.
It's weird. What's with these PDF files and their fucking private islands, man?
Secret society.
I guess. Just stop it. They make fucking dolls for that shit now. You know what I mean? Which, don't look that up because it's kind of disturbing. We kind of came across it. And I was just kind of like, because Tommy's like, he's like, I'm going to show you this, but he's like, I don't know how I feel about it. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it either. I'm like, in a way, it's kind of good because it's like, well, it's better than victimizing a real kid. But on the other, it's still hella creepy. Like, they're still hella creepy. But I guess it's better that they have them than not, I guess. I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things that I feel really gross about, and I'm not really sure how to feel about it. I don't like looking at them. They weird me out. But yeah. So yeah. So the task force was going for a while, but despite all the tips and everything that they had, they didn't really get anywhere with the investigation, sadly. So the task force kind of, collapsed, disbanded at the end of 1978, at which point the case was handed over to the Michigan State Police. Now, here are some of the other suspects that they were thinking about, like in relation to this crime. So here's this asshole named Archibald Sloan. Now, he was a convicted pedophile. And actually attacked boys in his own neighborhood. Now, interestingly, they found some hair samples in his car, which was a 1966 Pontiac Bonneville. Now, the hair that they found in his car matched hair that was found on Timothy King's body and Mark Stebbins' body. But the hair wasn't his, meaning that either someone who had been in the car with him or someone he had loaned the car to was likely the killer. You see what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't his hair, but it was his car, and hair that was in the car was found on two of the bodies, but it wasn't his. So somebody that was in that car, somebody that he knew or somebody that he loaned the car to, was likely the killer. Okay? You got that. All right. So, now some witnesses did say that when Timothy King was abducted, and this, like I said, the lady that said she saw him, she said she saw like the one guy like by the AMC Gremlin or whatever, but apparently there were some other witnesses that said that they saw two guys with him, and that one of them looked like John Wayne Gacy. However, John Wayne Gacy was, I believe, in Michigan and in the area at this time. However, they did do DNA tests later, like the DNA that they had from the bodies and stuff like that, and they did have Gacy's DNA, and it didn't match. So they did look into John Wayne Gacy because this was kind of his bag.
How would they have known each other?
But yeah, that's what I mean. Well, like I said, the PDF file community is maybe very small. I'm not sure.
Meet up at the PDF island.
That's what I mean. It's just kind of, where do they hang out? Like, they have meetups and stuff like that. Oh, let's all go meet at the Starbucks or some shit like that. Is messed up. But they got to be doing that.
Well, it's like I said before in other shows, intelligence agencies and fucking picked that up from Germany. The Germans knew all about it. Even in the pre-Nazi era, their intelligence agencies knew, because Germany went through a bunch of sexual revolutions. And during the Weimar Republic era, man, fucking prostitution and weird shit was off the chain. So the intelligence agencies there realized that you couldn't use the old tricks in Germany of like, you fooled on your wife or you're gay, so we're going to tell on you. You better obey us or we'll tell. That didn't work in Germany. It had to be something a lot more unacceptable. PDF file action. So
I mean, that's pretty much always unacceptable. Yeah. Well, not pretty much. That's always unacceptable.
So what the German intelligence agencies would do is they would recruit child sex operatives to entrap a target, and then
which is somehow even more messed up.
Oh yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, man. Intelligence agencies need to be fucking banned for the shit that they do, and it's been MK Ultra shit came out and shit related to that. That's in the U.S. In the U.S., we had a psychologist in Canada that would erase innocent people's minds by putting them in dark rooms, covering them up, drugging them with LSD, and putting reoccurring just brainwashing fucking recordings over and over in their heads for like a year. Person on bed like that. When they came out, they weren't even the same person. They were doing that to housewives as a test in Canada. No CIA doing that. They wanted to know if they could erase a person's mind and replace it with a new person, making Manchurian candidates. We did a show on that.
Yeah.
Well, during Operation Paperclip, after the fall of Nazi Germany, our intelligence agencies got all the information and technology, and all the good operatives and all the good spies from the Third Reich ended up working for the CIA and taught them everything they know. You had that secret society of PDF files. You can use underage sex operatives and entrap people and get them into that damn ring. Then the CIA can run them on remote control for the rest of their lives and make a lot of money on it. See, they don't have any oversight. So the people that are in the CIA can make millions and millions of dollars and get property for their own personal use using that technique. They actually run the show partially. It's dangerous, man. And that entity was never, CIA was never supposed to be a perpetual organization. It was supposed to be just temporary, and it's still there. And the older those organizations get, the more corrupt they get.
Well, that's the thing. If you're an intelligence agency and the shit that you're doing to catch so-called bad people is worse than what the actual bad people are doing, then maybe you need to like rethink.
That's what they do. And then they turn it in on other people to make money.
Tammy says, if I had enough money for a private island, the last thing I would want is a bunch of kids running around on it, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I was saying. You know, Michael Jackson looked awful guilty. His big old house had Ferris wheels and trains on it and little statues of fucking little white Peter Pans everywhere. And he was a guy in his 30s, a rock star. Shit, man, if I had my own fucking pad like that, yeah, it might have a fucking train on it, like a monorail, a fucking landing strip.
That would be kind of rad.
Yeah.
I'd want some rides. I want some roller coasters.
I'd have big booty statues all over the place, a house and shit. Fucking, it would be nothing but porn stars in there and fucking a whole, it would be a party 24/7. That's the way a rock star actually should be living, the ideal rock star. Little Peter Pans and little boys over at your house. No little girls, just little boys.
That's weird.
Spending the night, and a dozen of them spending a night with you for like weeks on end. They weren't there just for a night, people. Some of those dudes there lived there for weeks.
Well, some of them, their whole families lived there.
The whole families lived
like
on the compound.
On the compound.
They were living with him for weeks in his room.
Yeah.
Sleeping in the same bed together.
Yep. And he didn't even think anything was weird about it.
He'd have 2 or 3 of them in there.
Like I said, if that was anybody else, people have been like, the red flag is so big, you can see it from fucking space.
That red flag should have been seen from space.
Well, should have been.
They all knew.
Yeah, I know.
Just that he was worth a lot of money. A lot of industry behind him. They knew. They just knew that he knew well enough to keep it hidden or under wraps. And then the media was running interference for him. Oh, no, he's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, he was a nice guy, but he was doing that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, those two things aren't mutually exclusive.
Yeah. He's a nice guy, but he was also doing that.
You can also be a PDF file and be a nice guy.
Yeah.
That's kind of fucked up to think about, but it's like you don't have to be like a raging...
No.
Like,
he wasn't. The thing is, I'm not saying he's a great guy. He was he was not dangerous, is what I mean. He was not physically dangerous.
Yeah,
that's what he was doing was good.
Yeah.
He thought he was helping these kids. He thought that
he was just
he thought that's what love was.
Yeah.
For real.
Because he was fucking messed up. That's why. Zach says, "Oh Jesus, there's street view photos on the island, and it looks like some couple was comping on it recently. Do you think they know what happened there?" I would think if they're from the Michigan area, probably, because this is a pretty famous case there still. Like Ramthers was saying, it's still in the news, like every now and then. Murder Hornet said, "Watch out, Jen. I sent Tom 3 vials of Tren. LOL."
Yeah, right. No,
just kidding.
He was fucking earlier said, "I'm getting too small. I need to go back on Tren." I didn't get bigger on Tren. If anything, I got smaller.
What, are you trying to get me to leave? Is that what's going on?
I turned into a goddamn werewolf again. No, I had enough of that.
So it's trying to break us up.
Yeah. Do not do Tren. It's not that effective either.
Yeah. It's not worth it. It's not worth the side effects.
There's other stuff that's better. Yeah,
I mean, like I said, you might, even if you don't have a girlfriend or wife that'll leave you, you might end up in prison.
Yeah.
So
19 nor testosterone, like NPP and DECA are better, and they're so much easier on you.
Yeah. Okay, so where were we? Okay, so John Wayne Gacy, there we go. Okay, so here's this other dude. Now this guy, a lot of people think this might be kind of the prime suspect here. Now this dude was arrested actually in Ohio, and his name is Ted Lamborghini, kind of like Lamborghini, but not Lamborghini. He was an auto worker, but he was retired. And he was also involved in a different pedophile ring in the 1970s. And they went after boys primarily in Cass Corridor in Detroit.
Yeah.
Now, there were 5 dudes in the ring. Lamborghini was one of only 2 that were still living. Like, they were actually prosecuted in 2006. Thank you so much, Bryce. We really appreciate it. I've never heard of this case before. It sounds morbid and interesting. Yeah, this is a pretty depressing... I mean, anything having to do with, like, PDF files and child murder is depressing, obviously. But...
Thank you for that super chat.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Bryce, you've been a major contributor lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
For
we
real.
Really do appreciate it.
You're paying bills on this house.
You're paying for Tom's new pull-up bar.
Yeah.
That he just ordered.
Yeah, I got a new pull-up bar. One that doesn't wreck the door frame.
Because the other one just fucked up the door frame.
It just fucked up. This is a good pull-up bar, but it fucking pushed the door frame apart.
It does, yeah. So this ring was actually kind of busted up in 2006, but Lamborghini was only one of 2 remaining members of it that were still alive. Now, he was actually up for 19 counts of sexual assault on children. His partner in the ring, who was the other guy that was still alive, was named Richard Lawson, and he had 28 charges of sexual assault on children. Now, in 2007, they pretty much said that Lamborghini was the top suspect for the Oakland County child killer. Like I said, it might be more than one person, but they're not sure. They don't know if this guy is him, but he's kind of the favorite suspect at the moment. Now, interestingly, in this particular case, which wasn't related to the Oakland child killer, this was his Kitty Prawns case, or his sexual assault against children case. He actually pleaded guilty, like immediately, to 15 counts. Now, they said they would give him a plea bargain if he would take a polygraph regarding the Oakland County child killings. And he said, no, absolutely not. I'm guilty. Which, again, that's kind of suspicious that he wouldn't take a polygraph about the killings. So he confessed to 15 separate sexual assaults on kids because he didn't want to take a polygraph.
That's weird.
They also said that if he'd take a polygraph, they'd give him a reduced sentence, like after he was, convicted, and he again said no.
Yeah, he thought he could come up guilty. He thought he would come up hot.
So I think that's why a lot of people think that this might. I mean, and polygraph tests are not real reliable. I get that, but the fact that he was afraid to take one, and was like immediately, yeah, I'm just gonna go to prison, guilty. You know what I mean? That seems a little fishy. Seems weird. A little fishy.
Just because you come up bad on that polygraph test, that doesn't mean that they can actually indict you on anything.
Right.
They just wanted to know if it was him. He didn't want to go along with it. Even for a reduced sentence, he would have got it.
Yeah.
Even if he failed, he would have got it.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know like all of the conditions of it, but they were just like, well, in exchange for taking a polygraph test to do with the Oakland County child killer case, you can get a reduced sentence. I don't know, like I said, I don't know what all the stipulations were, but he said no, he wouldn't even do it.
We also don't know exactly what the makeup of these charges are and what the penalty would have been in the 1970s. Because strangely enough, people, penalties for this kind of shit was actually pretty light back then.
It was, yeah, sadly.
I mean, how many counts? About 30 counts of this and that. He probably was only looking at a couple years if they run them concurrent instead of consecutive. You might get 6 months on each one, running them all concurrent. He's out in 6 months.
Which is crazy.
Because they were a lot more lenient on sexual stuff.
Yeah, because I've read about, I mean, it's not great nowadays either, but I've read about, like, rape cases that were, like, open and shut, and, like, the dude got, like, 2 years.
Yeah.
Or something. Like, maybe not even for like, violent, like, jumping out of the bushes kind of rape. Not that other kind of rape aren't bad, too, but I'm just saying the classic stranger rape that everybody thinks of. Yeah. Some dude did that, and he just got
24 months. That's nothing.
Yeah, and he just gets, like, 2 years or something.
Some dudes think that, that's worth it. It's worth it.
That's what I mean.
I'll do 6 or 7 of them, and they catch me on one. I'll only get 2 years. I'll be out in a couple months.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, good behavior. Yeah.
And then he's out and he does the shit again.
That's why you got to be hard on crime.
They don't learn.
Some of these fucking...
Depends on what kind of crime it is. When we're talking about violent crime like this, yeah.
You got to be hard on all crime. They made it legal to steal under $800 worth of stuff, basically, in some of these cities. So 7 or 8, 20 guys will link up on fucking social media and all agree to fucking ransack the same store at the same time, and they'll go in and steal. Each one of them will steal $800 worth of shit and fucking puts that store out of business. You know, and then it'll be a Target or something, and they'll just shut it down. So you can't make everything legal.
Well, no one's trying to do that, Tom.
But they did that.
I'm just saying that violent crime.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a big advocate of the death penalty, except in super extreme cases where you're absolutely sure that that's the motherfucker that did it. But any kind of violent crime like this, murder, rape, any kind of assault like that, you can't just give them like a year or 2 years. You can't give them some like bullshit slap on the wrist, because they're probably just gonna do it again. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Like, every case is different, so you got to like take things on a case by case basis. But still, I have read about cases where. And like you said, in the 70s, particularly cases that were sexual in nature, rape, anything to do with child abuse or anything like that, I feel like they didn't really take it as seriously.
Bryce says he agrees. You got to be hard on crime, but not things like smoking weed. Exactly.
Yeah, shit like that. Like that shouldn't even be illegal.
Here's
to
the
be
thing.
honest.
The idea of illegalizing drug use is very anti-American. Through most of American history, you had what was called the right to bliss. You had the right to get high. It's your body. Who are they to tell you what you can't put in your body? If you want to be a fucking junkie, that's you doing what you want with your own body. State doesn't own your body.
I mean, as long as you're not like driving cars and endangering other people and shit like that. Though. Yeah.
Operating under while intoxicated, that can be a crime. But you should be able to get high all you fucking want. That's your body.
I don't have a problem with that.
If a girl wants to sell her body, or a man wants to sell her body and that's her body.
I don't have a problem with that either.
To the state.
Like I said, as long as nobody's forcing them into it, then if you want to make money like
that's
that,
a different thing.
Then absolutely.
If I force someone else to do it, that's not the same thing.
Yeah, that's a different
That's a total
issue.
that could be a crime. Okay, because that's like stealing.
Yeah.
All right. Or if you have people who are underage getting involved in this business, that could be a crime too, because their brains are not fully developed to make this decision yet.
Yeah.
And really, me and Jen are in the adult industry. Really, even 18 years old, in some ways, I would say, a person is not fully developed.
That's still kind of questionable.
Yeah.
I remember some of the dumb shit I did when I was in my early 20s, you know what I mean?
You get some kind of naive girl at 18 and she gets involved in the porn industry, it's going to dominate the rest of her life. It's going to affect her ability to get married and shit. It probably should be more like 21. Okay? But the thing is they'll never do that, because they can draft a male to become a soldier at 18 and go kill people and get himself killed. What's more dangerous?
I mean, they'd have to just change it to 21 across the board if they were going to do that.
But they would never do that, because they want them 18-year-old boys in combat. Because when you're 18, you're fucking dumb. They can tell you anything, and you go, yeah, that's right, we're going to fucking take care of this mission. We'll make it. And it's a suicide mission. Or you're fighting a country that really is no threat to your like, okay, the war I was involved in, I was in during the first Gulf War. That was no threat to the United States. That was a threat to rich guys trying to make money here. The United States hasn't really fought a war protecting its own country and its own borders in fucking centuries. Probably Mexican-American War, and that was us taking shit from Mexico. Probably the last thing, the Revolutionary War, War of 1812, maybe. That was a war where you were defending America. The rest of it was all wars of empire. Rich guys
pretty much
sending young guys out to go get some kind of asset or resource or protect some kind of investment that they made overseas. That's all that shit is. It's the ultimate form of prostitution. You're a young man pimping your body out to old men. Not for sex, but for fighting. Fighting and fucking. It's been going on for thousands of years. Prostitution is the oldest profession. Soldiering is the second oldest. Because that's just, I'm going to hook up with you guys and we'll kill that fucking elephant together. And if we get it done, give me some of that meat. It's just another form of that.
DVD Dragon said Tom's Island would be nothing but motorcycles, gyms, firearms ranges, and porn stars. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, Jen would be center mat. She'd be the center.
I was gonna say I didn't even think that I'd be on the island.
Yeah, she'd be on the island.
What do you need me for?
Depending on-
You got all
on
this.
state.
You got all this porn stars. You don't need me
Depending on
there.
what stage of development I was in. You know what I mean? If we're talking about me back in my 20s or 30s, hell yeah.
Then yeah, I wouldn't be invited.
I wouldn't have known you. I wouldn't have known you.
Like I said,
You'd still been married back then to that other guy.
That's true. Tammy says, in the 70s, child abuse and domestic violence was seen as a family's personal business. Yep, that's absolutely true. That's what I mean. And I feel like probably up until maybe even into the 80s, but probably most of the 70s. I feel like by the time like the 80s came along, like it was kind of starting to change. But I feel like dudes that like smack their wives around and stuff like that, like people didn't really think there was much wrong with that.
No, they thought something was wrong with it. I remember my dad making comments of it. And
Really?
around his other friends, they thought that shit was fucked up, but there wasn't anything you could do.
That's what I mean. It wasn't really because they're like, oh, well, that's their business. Like,
Well,
you can't.
It's like there wasn't any legal way to go, hey, you stop that. It wasn't like
Which
that.
is dumb because it's
it
just
was
kind of
their
like, look,
business.
if you went up to a random ass person on the street and punched them in the face, then you'd go to jail.
Yeah.
Why would it be different just because you were married to that person? That's still
It
another
was
person.
It was the thinking of the time.
That's stupid as
it's
hell.
Like, well, they're a couple, and that's their business, and we can't really get involved in that.
I mean, you're still punching a person in the face. You would still go to jail if you did that to a stranger. So why would you not go to jail if you did it to a person that you were married to or a
Because
person
you
in
know
your
each
family?
other.
Right, but still. Yeah, but that's
It's a
it. But
different-
see, that's another thing. Like, what if it's two guys and that was like your friend, and then
Yeah.
you got in a fight and you punched that dude in the face? You'd still go to jail.
Yeah,
You know that guy.
No, because you'd have to press charges.
Well, yeah, I know that, but that's true of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, if nobody pressed charges, nobody goes to jail. Even
Remember
if you...
that cop asked me if they wanted to press charges on a dude that was fucking with me a long time ago, and the drunk dude at fucking Denny's, talking all that shit.
Oh, that's right. I forgot all
And
about
that cop
that.
says, "You want me to arrest him and press charges?" I said, "No." And he went back. He says, "You're lucky because I want to lock you up." That's what he
Yeah.
told that dude. He's just a drunk.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, called me Marilyn Manson and shit.
Wouldn't he like throwing shit at the windows or?
He probably got arrested later on anyway. He was
I
fucking drunk
imagine
and
he
disorderly.
probably did.
But yeah, no, I just remember the attitudes of the time. Another thing is Gramper's, he'll attest. When we went to high school, it was known that some of the teachers were having affairs with some of the students
Yeah, that happened when I was
in
in
high school. Now they tended to be seniors, and the teachers tended to be like people in their 30s, maybe early 30s. Nobody said anything. They didn't even think anything. All that it was kind of like, hoo, wow, they okay. You know what I mean? Tee hee. We didn't think it was a big deal.
Yeah.
The attitudes were very different back then.
Yeah, High Desert says, it may be hard to imagine now, but if a kid showed up to school with bruises all over, it was no big deal.
Yeah.
And then Tammy said, I lived through it. Teachers did nothing. Cops
Yeah.
called to the house, saw my mom bleeding, and they did nothing.
Yeah, and another thing is that it wasn't just male teachers, quote unquote, taking advantage of the females. It was female teachers dating male students too. They did it both.
And then Bryce said, I think people thought a man had a right to discipline his wife. Yeah, that seemed like a pretty prevalent attitude. Like I said, here, probably up until the 70s.
From what I remember,
I think it started to change after
from
that.
what I remember, my dad and his friends talking about it, they couldn't do any. They were under the impression that they couldn't do anything. She had to complain about it. She had to go to the police herself.
Yeah.
That was the thinking.
And even then, I feel like in the 60s or 70s, if a woman had gone to the police and said, hey, my husband's beating me up, they would have just said, oh, well what'd you do wrong then? You know what I mean?
I don't think so.
Well, I guess it would depend. I mean, it
Yeah.
depend where you were.
Well, this was happening in California.
Yeah.
In the 70s. Because I remember my dad and one of his work buddies knew this guy. And they thought he was a shithead.
Yeah. Well, that's good, because he was a shithead.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if he was beating her. But he was, like verbally abusive and aggressive towards her. You know what I mean? He's a real domineering type.
Holy crap, like that guy that was on the Kitchen Nightmares last night?
Yeah, it was like that.
Yeah, we were watching the new Kitchen Nightmares last night. Because Gordon Ramsay has a new Kitchen Nightmares, if you didn't know. I've been watching it on Hulu. But yeah. So somebody mentioned this motherfucker earlier. Here's another suspect that a lot of people think is kind of one of the top suspects. This guy is named Christopher Bush. Now, Christopher Bush, as Gramthers, I believe, mentioned before, was the son of GM executive Harold Lee Bush. So he's very wealthy, comes from a very wealthy family. Now, Chris Bush had actually been in police custody not too long before Timothy King was abducted. For he was suspected to be involved in kitty prawns. So there we go. Now, much like Epstein, this motherfucker supposedly committed suicide in November of 1978. Thing about the suicide, though, he wasn't in jail. I believe it was in his house. They found him dead in his house. He'd been shot between the eyes. No gunshot residue on his hands. No blood spatter. And there were 4 shell casings found in the room, even though I believe there was only 1 shot in his head. Also found, like, all kind of wrapped up in his sheets. Like, all his arms were, like, all wrapped up like that.
Yeah.
So, also, allegedly, there were some, like, blood-stained ligatures found in his apartment as though he'd been tied up.
But no body?
No, the body was right there.
The body was there? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Okay.
Because I just said he'd
I was paying attention to other things at the time. Okay. I've been drinking, too. Right. But his body was there. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, it was wrapped up in a sheet. He'd been shot in the head, right between the eyes.
Yeah. The difference is that with the Epstein story, in general, they're saying that he died. And they came in to rescue him, and he died from killing himself. I don't think he's dead at all. I think he's alive. That'd be a very easy way to have a mission. And those were all contractors, intelligence agency contractors. They had it all planned out with the guards that were on duty at that time to sabotage cameras. They're going to give them payoffs. And they went in there and they got Epstein out, is what they did. I don't think he died at all. He pretended to be dead. They put him on a gurney and got it out. Then they faked the whole autopsy thing. I never saw his body. You see any pictures of his body?
Why would I look for pictures?
Because they're not there. He's out. He's free somewhere. They went in there and rescued their own.
Well, this guy, they definitely found him dead. But they said it was suicide, but most people are kind of like, didn't really look that much like a suicide. Looked like a murder. Looked like he got, like, hit. Also, in his apartment where they found him, there was a drawing, which I've seen, of a boy screaming that looked very much like Mark Stebbins, the first victim. Even had like a little parka hood on and everything like that, like Stebbins was wearing when he got taken. Also, interestingly, Christopher Bush drove a blue Vega, which might have been mistaken for a gremlin, because they look very similar.
Yeah.
So there was that too. But like I said, he's dead, so they're not really sure. But there's kind of like a whole conspiracy theory that because he was from a wealthy family, that the cops were kind of like covering up for him, or that there were maybe other PDF files allegedly in the cops, or that were covering for him in some fashion.
High Desert fucking he says nobody believed that the PDF files were real. Yeah, they're real.
Well, yeah, I do kind of feel like maybe people didn't really realize. See, that's why I'm saying, like, I think it's better nowadays that everybody's, like, everybody talks about, like, now everybody knows everything about everything, and, like, there's no mystery about anything anymore. But in a way, I kind of feel like that's better. Yeah.
I
think that's better.
There's more of that that's going on, and there's been a long history going back to the 1930s of intelligence agencies using that angle, starting off in Germany. Yeah. So, it exists.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
About a code of silence.
I think most people didn't think about it.
Yeah, you got a code of silence. Another thing that intelligence agencies do is that they penetrate cults. And then they'll take over a cult and use the cult as a tool. For some reason they didn't do it to Scientology. Scientology would have been a good one to take over. Argentina took over a damn German cult where they were trying to keep kids from going through puberty. And they were also using that same cult as the secret place to do interrogations and tortures and stuff. They were using these German civilians that they basically made sausage over there in Germany to do it for them in a cult compound. So it's not just the U.S. It's just intelligence agencies in general. Penetrating a fucking coven or a network of PDF files is powerful. It would be a very powerful thing. So you now have access to all these very rich PDF files that can promote one another, get each other in position, and now you can run all of them on remote control. Because if they don't obey you, they don't obey the organization, you can out them. A lot of mental leverage. Everything, all those intel agencies use leverage on people.
Murder Hornet said drunk driving wasn't a big thing back in the day. Oh, no, it absolutely wasn't. Yeah, a lot of people just, they didn't think anything about it. He also says, I had a female special ed teacher I would hang out with during break. She would talk sex and even went to her house, but nothing ever happened. So, you know.
Who was this? What did he say?
Murder Hornet said that.
Yeah.
All right, so...
Yeah.
Like,
Epstein said Epstein didn't kill himself. Epstein isn't dead. I believe he's alive. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I need
Okay,
a little more drink. All right, yeah. Yeah, because we bought some orange juice today and more vodka. But yeah, so Christopher Bush, a lot of people do like him as a suspect, but like I said, he's dead in a suicide, which you'd think if they wanted it to make it look like a suicide, they would have done a better job than that. That's all I'm saying. Now, Barry King, who was the father of Timothy King, like I said, he kind of spent the remainder of his life up until he died in 2020, basically trying to catch the motherfucker that did this, and also, you know, raising money for the Timothy King Fund, which helped other abused children. Now, he actually filed, I don't even remember how many Freedom of Information Act, things that he filed, but he got like 3,500 pages of information, like, about the case. And he actually, him and his sister, like, both worked on it, and they released, like, a lot of it to the public. They also made a documentary, which was called Decades of Deceit. And they were basically, like, shitting all over the cops and the prosecutors for just not doing the investigation to the best of their ability, and saying that they didn't really communicate with the families all that well, and that that they didn't really listen when the family came up with, like, specific leads. Like, they were kind of, like, half-assed about investigating them. So they made a thing, like, making those allegations also. Now, in 2012, because like I said, they're still working on this case, because obviously they don't know who it is, so it's still an open investigation. So in 2012, thank you very much, Victor. Just got here, start over.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
I mean, we're still talking about the shit, so it's fine. It's not that late. It's 9:30. That's all right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like it with orange juice the best.
Yeah, orange juice. Orange juice made Victor gay. You know
yeah,
that?
Probably.
Yeah, it made him gay.
Did it, Victor? Thank you very much, Victor. We really appreciate it.
That's how good it is.
That's how good orange juice is.
Yeah.
Orange juice will make you gay.
Yeah.
Whoops. Oh, well. But so in 2012, they did more DNA tests. And remember the hair that I said that they found in that Sloan dude's car that wasn't his? So the hairs that they found in his car, like I said, have been found on Mark Stebbins and Timothy King's body. So those were a match. They came from the same man, but they didn't know who it was at that time. What?
He said Hawaiian Punch made him gay. Which makes me think I just bought that damn Publix Punch.
Yeah.
You go to Publix fucking fruit punch.
Yeah.
You get it where you get the soda. Man, it's fucking great. It's kind of like Hawaiian Punch, but it's Tiki Punch.
Yeah.
It's slightly carbonated. That shit's good. Good with rum or vodka. I got some of it in my little mini fridge right up here. The office fridge.
Yeah. Yeah, we got like a whole bunch of
So I understand how
soda.
I understand how punch could make you gay. I understand.
Might work on you someday.
No, I passed the window. It has to be a certain age.
He passed the gay window.
Where punch could flip you. Yeah. It's like around 9 or 10. That's when that could happen.
Okay. But yeah, so as I mentioned, this hair came from the same dude, but they're not entirely sure who that is. It's not Sloane's hair, but obviously it was somebody that was in the car. Either someone that was in the car with him or somebody that he loaned the car to at some point. So here's another suspect named James Gunnels. And he was interviewed in 2012, after they discovered who he was. And we're asking him about this case, and he said he absolutely did not do it. However, a hair that was found on Christine Mihelik's body is a mitochondrial DNA match to him. Now, the reason that they haven't arrested him, I don't know how much you guys know about DNA, probably a lot. Mitochondrial DNA and nuclear DNA are two different things. So nuclear DNA, if you get a match there, the odds of that shit not being you is like 1 in 700 trillion or 70 trillion or something like that. It's ridiculous. They're like, okay, bitch, it was you. That's your DNA.
Yeah.
However, if it's just mitochondrial DNA, the odds there are more like 1 in 150. So it could be him, or it could be any one of his male lineage, like on his mom's side. So that's not enough to arrest somebody, because it could be like a lot of people. It could be like a relative of his. You know what I'm saying? Like a male relative. So even though his hair does match, it's not a good enough match for them to arrest him. They don't have enough. And he basically says, and this is a quote from him, he says, "I'm not guilty. There it is there. But at the same time, I know how the state police twist words to their advantage. My heart goes out to those families. It really, really does. I don't feel that they were served justice through any of this." Did he do it? It does seem weird that his hair was there, but like I said, only 1 in 150, that's not enough. Like I said, if it was nuclear DNA, then they'd be like, yeah, that's the motherfucker, but I don't know. It just seems like maybe not. Now, I should note, too, that he was only 16 years old when the killings took place. So they thought if he was indeed involved, then he might have been either just like part of the group that was doing the killings, or that he was used as a lure. Because one thing that they said, remember how I said earlier they thought the killer was somebody that, like an adult, that kids wouldn't have a reason to distrust, like a teacher or a cop or something? Another theory that they floated was that maybe it was another kid. Which sounds far-fetched, but not really, because didn't Dean Corll did that shit, where he had another kid who was like a teenager, for that very reason, because he knew that a teenager would come with another teenager when he wouldn't go with an adult man. So they have speculated, and this is all completely speculative. You know, I'm not making any accusations or anything, but I'm saying people have speculated that if Gunnels was involved, you know, when he was 16, it might have been as a lure, like he was sent out to, hey, go get that kid to come over here, because they wouldn't necessarily distrust a teenager.
And that Dean Corll guy, I think he paid bounties.
Yeah,
for each kid
he did.
bought.
Yeah,
and I think it was under $100 if I remember correctly. It was short change, and sometimes just things like weed, giving him weed.
Yeah, he would like pay, like give him money or drugs or something like that to like go get. And the kid knew what was happening. He was a teenager, but he knew what was going on.
Oh yeah, he watched some of it happen.
It's a fucked up case.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that even though it does sound far-fetched that like a 16-year-old would be involved in something like this, not really, because it has happened before. But like I said, this is all completely speculative. They don't really know. And like I said, maybe that's not even his hair. It does seem weird that it's a mitochondrial DNA match, but it's not a close enough DNA match for them to be certain that he had anything to do with it. But that was just like some speculation that they had about that. They've also speculated that James and maybe his brother might have also been groomed or sexually abused by the members of this PDF file ring, like Christopher Bush and some of the others. So, and then, you know, they kind of got into it as well, or, you know, I don't really know. Or they were forced into recruiting kids for it. Who knows? There's all kind of fucked up the shit that could happen. Now, here's this other guy, and this is kind of out there, but I just thought I'd bring this up. So here's this whole situation of this person who, then this is a pseudonym, but their pseudonym is Jeff Gannon. Now, this happened in 2005. So this is a dude who, like I said, he's a pseudonym. They don't really know who he is, really. But he came forward to the authorities and said that back in 1977, he had an acquaintance who would drive him around and would take him to these buildings that had something to do with the crimes, and also told him that like satanic rituals were going on there. Like I said, this is very satanic panic going on here. And he kind of like said some of the same stuff that was said in the letter that I talked about earlier, like that Alan said that he was like the sadomasochistic slave of this dude named Frank or whatever. Yeah. So he was kind of like saying some of that same shit about that. And he actually asked the cops if he could see that letter, but they wouldn't let him see it. Now, so this guy in 2010, they just, like I said, they just call him Jeff. I don't know what his real name is. So he gives an interview to investigators in Oakland County. And he says that he has evidence, you know, having to do with this investigation. And he said that so there was this whole thing where he tried to, I don't know, like this guy, he seemed to be suggesting that whoever the killer or killers were, and he seemed to be implying that it was like a ring, which they think probably it was kind of like a ring that was involved. But he seemed to think that it was something to do with ritual killings, and that they actually had killed between 11 and 16 children, not just 4, and that he killed them, and that they killed them on dates that were like important to like occult calendars or whatever. The thing about this guy though is that as it went on, like they kind of looked into some of his shit, it seemed like, but he said that I have all of these photos and I have all of this evidence and all of this other stuff, and I'll give it to you if, you know what I mean? So he had like all of these stipulations for like how, like why, when he was going to give them the evidence. Like they had to give him some shit first. Like he gave the information, some of the information to like the media, but he remained anonymous. And that's what he was saying when he was saying, oh, there's all these Wiccan or satanic human sacrifice. I'm just like, Wiccans don't human sacrifice people, but you know what I mean. Maybe he didn't know what he was talking about.
Overweight lesbians.
I mean, Wiccans, they're like pretty chill.
Yeah, they're not worried about
so it. They're not sacrificing people. No. That's not a Wiccan thing.
No.
You get in big trouble in Wicca if you do that kind of shit. That's against the rules. So yeah, and even a lot of that satanic. We did a whole show about satanic panic. Did we do a revisit on it?
We could always do another one. I mean,
I think we've done two, but
a plethora of fucking topics to talk about.
There really are, because it was just like such a broad, wide range.
Bryce is going, yeah, there always has to be some kind of satanic ritual.
That's what I mean. It's like somebody always brings that up.
It was a meme of the day.
It was. Everything was like Satanists.
Everything, yeah.
Like every time somebody was murdered in like a particularly gruesome way, everybody's like, oh, it's Satanists.
Yeah. Now, DVD Dragon brings up the fact that fruit punch is fucking either makes you gay or very fucking susceptible. What he said? Makes you very easy to influence.
Punch will make you gay or very easy to influence. It's the MK Ultra of fruit juices.
Exactly. And it's because it has that island flavor. That's what it is.
I didn't make that connection, but there you go.
Island flavor.
Islands, man, full of PDF files. You know how they do.
You go there. What happens on that island stays on that island. And all those islands are like that. Hell yeah. Look at Jamaica. They got all the damn white women going down there to go take fucking to get knocked up by these fucking Jamaican, smooth ass Jamaican dudes that fucking work off the beaches and shit. You know what I mean? It's just it's a lot of sex happening on those islands. So some of them islands are gay.
Sex Island.
Yeah.
Well, look at Fire Island if you're going to talk about gay islands.
Shit, Fire Island. Yeah. You don't know. Anything could happen. So, fruit punch, man, it's dangerous.
It's a gateway drug.
It's a gateway.
It's what it is.
You have to be fully formed in your sexual tastes before you can really drink fruit punch, especially tiki punch, with confidence. Okay, you're gonna be putting your preferences in jeopardy. You might fucking take some of that shit, and all of a sudden you go, "Oh man, look at that dude's ass." Mm-hmm. You never know; it could happen.
Yeah, that looked pretty genuine, Tom. You were really checking out a
I'm an actor.
There.
I'm an actor. Damn.
Look at that, man. You can bounce a quarter off that.
Yeah.
You can bounce a quarter off that. But yeah. So this guy, I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe he's crazy or maybe he's just trying to get money, because after he told the journalists all this stuff about, you know, human sacrifices on these dates on the pagan calendar and all that kind of stuff, he tried to file a lawsuit. You know, there was like a lawsuit filed against the Oakland County authorities for $100 million. You know, because of mishandling the investigation. You know, they were saying there was a conspiracy and cover-ups and all this other kind of shit. And then this other guy tried to get that guy's, like, he was essentially trying to sell it for like $1,500 donations. Like, I have all of this evidence, you guys, but you have to give me $1,500 before I give it to you. And I was just kind of like, you know. Because, well, the thing about it was, like, the guy actually went to the mother of one of the victims and was trying to, like, get some shit and, like, you know, trying to get on her good side so he could get more into the investigation. But I don't know. To me, it seems, like I said, I definitely do think, well, they know provably that there were pedophile rings in this area at this time because they caught a bunch of them. So I definitely don't think it's outlandish to say that a pedophile ring was not responsible for these 4 particular murders, or like somebody that was in them. Maybe they were just acting on their own volition, but they were associates of those people. But anytime the shit goes into like satanic ritual, I'm always like super skeptical of that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's like super, super, super rare. And it really does seem like around this time period, this is slightly early, but there was kind of some shit going on in the 70s and 80s. Like I said, any kind of murder that had any kind of like strange little detail, even if it was like a total stretch or a total reach, like, oh my God, we found a copy of the Necronomicon like in the house or something like that. Satanic, you know what I mean? It was like that. It was that bad. So if you weren't there. So I don't know. So I kind of look askance at this kind of shit. Like I said, I'm not saying that these 4 murders in particular, and maybe some of the other ones, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, because there are some that are maybe related and they're not entirely sure. And I'm not saying that there's not more murders than are, usually part of this series, because I think there probably were. Just 4, that seems like, I kind of feel like this person or persons probably did more than that. And maybe they just didn't link them. You know what I'm saying? So that's why there's, like I said, I'll get into talking about some other ones that are possibly linked, like, in a minute. But that's the thing. This whole Jeff situation, I don't know. Again, it's just kind of like the whole Alan Frank letter with the sadomasochistic slave. Is it impossible? No. Obviously it could happen, but it just seems unlikely. So at this point, there's been a couple documentaries about this. There's actually, if you want to watch it, I think you can still watch it like on their website, but what's it called? Click on Detroit or whatever, that website. They did like a 5-part series. I think it's on YouTube also. I think it's like 5 hours. It's like a 5-part series about this case, the investigation. And it goes a lot into, I didn't watch all 5 hours, but I watched like an hour-long summary of like all the stuff with clips from it and everything, because I didn't have time to watch the whole thing. But that's on YouTube if you want to watch that, because they delve a lot more into the North Fox Island shit and all that other kind of stuff. And I think like Investigation Discovery also did a 4-hour documentary about this case as well. So there are some other, let's talk about, like, before we wrap up the topic, we'll talk about a few other murders, similar murders that happened around this time period that they think might be related, possibly. They know those 4 are, just because, of various details about particularly like the dog hair and things like that. But these ones are possible. So this one happened a little bit earlier. This was an older girl. She was 17 years old. Her name was Donna Sarah. This was September 29th, 1972. That was only 3 days after I was born, actually. She was actually hitchhiking to a beach after school. This was in Macomb County, Michigan. And then she disappeared. Now, her body was found in a creek, laying face down, on October 20th, 1972. Now, she had been kept captive and drugged for several days. She was strangled, and her murder is unsolved to this day. They think this might be related, maybe not. Not entirely sure.
Where'd they find her again?
It was in Ray Township is where they found her body.
Just along the side of the road?
Yeah, 27 Mile Road. That's where they found her.
Yeah, 27 miles.
And she had been kept for several days. Same as the...
No damage on her.
Not that I know of, but she was strangled, though. But she was older. She was 17. So a little bit older than the victim profile or the other 4. But not, I don't know if these are going to be, because I kind of feel like the 4 canonical murders, that's more a pedophile thing, whereas this is more like your classic serial killer thing, where it's kind of like...
Okay. How did she come up missing, did it say?
She just disappeared while hitchhiking.
While hitchhiking?
Yeah. Which happened a lot in the 70s.
Who was she? In terms of as a person? She was just from that area?
Yeah. Just a regular girl. Just a regular 17-year-old girl.
All right.
High school girl.
That could be anything.
That's what I mean. But, just a couple of things. The fact of her being held captive for several days, there were like some other similarities, but...
Yeah, the people holding her captive might have been people she knew. You don't know. She might have been partying with some
Yeah,
guys.
that's what I'm saying. But I'm
taking a lot of drugs, partying with them for a few days. And then they killed her over something. And then dumped her body. You don't know. It had nothing to do with serial killing. You know what I mean?
Well,
maybe killing her. Maybe they killed her by accident, or an argument broke out, something like that. You don't know,
right?
Because usually, if it was a serial killer, it'd be a repeat. It'd be a bunch of them.
Well, and like I said, I think a lot of times too is that if there are murders in the same area that have similarities, obviously they're going to link those because, realistically, how many, it depends obviously on what area it is and what your crime statistics are. But realistically, in an area like this, how many murders do you see annually? Let's say that. So if you see two murders that are kind of different but have a lot of similarities, you're going to assume that maybe they're connected, because what are the odds that there's two motherfuckers running around doing this shit? You know what I mean? It depending on where it is. If it's a bigger city, then obviously that's not weird.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's a very suspicious death, but for all you know, that was her ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, you never know.
You don't know.
You never know.
Right.
So another one that is kind of suspected to be part of the same series was a 13-year-old girl named Janet or Janie Allen. Now, she actually went missing August 8th, 1976. She was also hitchhiking between Pontiac and Royal Oak, and that's in Oakland County, Michigan. She was later found, a few days, I believe it was 3 days later, floating in a river in Ohio on August 11th. So that was about 200 miles away from where she disappeared.
Just because she was last seen hitchhiking, that doesn't mean the guy who gave her the ride killed her. She might have got where she was going, and then...
Well, that's another thing. But that's always the best place to start.
Yeah.
Because you're the last person that's seen her alive, as far as anyone knows.
Everybody knows.
So that's where you got to start. But yeah, I mean, she might have been picked up, been taken 5 miles down the road, got dropped off, and some other motherfucker picked her up. But nobody saw her.
Or
you know what I mean?
she got to her destination, and the dude at her destination killed her.
Yeah, there's a
She
million.
might have been
There's a
seeing
million
some dude
possibilities.
and that dude
A
killed
million
her.
possibilities.
Yeah, that dude killed her in an argument or something.
But yeah, so they found her 200 miles away in a river. Her wrists had been tied behind her back with her her t-shirt had been torn up, and they tied her hands behind her back with that. They weren't actually able to tell if she'd been sexually assaulted because her body was so decomposed when they found her. But she was dead before she was thrown in the water. Her cause of death, though, was carbon monoxide poisoning, which is odd.
Left her in a garage and gassed
Yeah,
her.
I guess so. So that's kind of fucked up. But yeah.
Sounds like they tied her up.
Yeah. So she was much younger. She was 13, like I said. Then we also have
That'd be a cowardly way of doing it.
That's pretty fucked up,
You can't do it with your own hands, so you're going to put her in a damn garage. Turn the car on.
Like in a gas chamber.
Like a gas chamber.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Or you might have had a damn pipe coming off of off the tailpipe onto a bag around her head. That's another way you could do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gassed her to death.
That's messed up.
Yeah, that's the fucking cowardly shit, you know? Fucking nasty fucker. That's like something BTK would do, actually.
Yeah, that sounds like some shit he would do.
Yeah, he would think that would be real cool to see that happen. Oh, I just wanted to see it, you know? He's like that, you know? I wanted to see what would happen.
That dude is like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've said this before, Sophie gave me a book about him. That was all, what the hell is that woman's name she's like a criminologist or something. She's written like a zillion books. And I can see her face and I just can't think of her name. I'll think, Catherine Ramsland? And she, corresponded with BTK for many years. And so she wrote a book about, and she put a lot of stuff from his letters in there, and that dude's thought processes are just fucking bizarre.
Yeah.
Reading that, I was just weirded out by the whole, but that totally sounds like the kind of shit that he would do. Cause he would want to see that. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like I said, everybody's got sexual fantasies. Everyone's got weird sexual fantasies they probably don't want to tell other people about. Yeah. But I can very safely say that I've never had a fantasy about anything like that.
It's weird, man. BTK, his fantasies were about how people were dying and what they were thinking, and he'd dress up like the female victim, and put himself into bondage and pretend like he was dying so he could feel like what it was like. He's this weird dude. And be jerking it while that was happening and evidently trying to take pictures of it. And that's some unusual shit, man.
It is unusual.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would not have a problem with him, you know, dressing in drag, tying himself up, putting himself in a hole, like jerk it. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But the fact that he was also doing that to other people.
Yeah.
You know? Like I said, if he'd just been doing that and wasn't a murderer, I think people have been like, it's kind of weird, but, like, whatever.
I think
like,
the murder started first. He did
Yeah.
it to some girl, and then
he wanted to see what it felt like.
Yeah, he thought that was real hot. He thought it was hot. That's the thing that people don't understand.
Yeah.
He thought that shit was really hot. The way they died and what led up to it. Then he'd want to experience it. You know.
Yeah.
And he said it's because he got tied up to a tree with his little boy. They're playing Cowboys and Indians, and then he liked it.
And he got off on it.
Yeah, he rocked up.
Which, like I said, that's not weird because a lot of people get into, like, a lot of people are into, like, being tied up or, you know, there's nothing weird about that. It's pretty common.
It's kind of weird, though.
I mean, it's a pretty common kink, though, is what I'm saying. But, you know, if he hadn't killed anybody, nobody would have thought anything about it, you know? Especially nowadays, people are like, I like to be tied up, and we're like, yawn. Yeah. I mean, like I said, that's a very common kink. Yeah. No one's even going to bat an eye.
That was his first, like, sexual experience.
Right.
Be tied up to a tree by some kids playing. It was Cowboys and Indians, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I get why that's arousing. I get that.
I don't.
Well, no, I'm saying, I get, because some people really like completely surrendering control to another person. That's why, and they think that's very arousing for them. And like I said, that's not weird. It's like, I don't, but the fact that he just took that and instead of just getting into BDSM like a fucking normal person.
Other people had to die over it.
Right. That's what I mean. It's like, why didn't you just get into the BDSM community? Everything would have been fine and all those people would still be alive.
Yeah.
So
he's tying these women up and then eventually strangling them.
Everyone would have been consenting. Like, everyone would have tied. You could have been tied up and like to your heart's
content. He thinks
it's
hot as hell. He thinks, man, that shit was so fucking sexy. That's just so weird shit.
Tammy says, my sexual fantasy is seeing Tom getting pegged. That would be hot.
That's fucking funny.
We're never going to let you live it down, Tom.
They're going to have to raise that money.
Yeah, he wants.
Yeah, we had somebody there just saying to stop the show, do a 20-minute flex section. I'm fucking getting all this. They're trying to get me to thirst trap. Like
we're doing shows about child killers, and you really want to like do that kind of shit.
Try to thirst trap on these. I thirst trapped last time I was here. Bryce paid me for the thirst trap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Show my underwear and shit. That was not during a show though. That was during.
Well, that was on the sidetrack.
That was on a sidetrack show.
I think.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? No, I can't remember.
I started talking about my underwear.
They're all kind of run together.
My famous underwear.
Your famous your $40 underwear.
Yeah.
I don't know if that pair was $40, but
it was $35.
Okay, your $35 underwear. But yeah. So okay, let me talk about these last few possibly related victims. So here was another 12-year-old. This was another little girl, Kim King. Now she actually disappeared from Warren, Michigan. This was in September of 1979. She had actually been sleeping over at a friend's house, and then called her sister at 11 o'clock at night and said, hey, I snuck out of my friend's house and I'm like at a phone booth. So I guess she wanted her sister to come get her.
She's 12?
Yeah. So her sister was like, hey, why don't you go inside the gas station or convenience store, wherever it is you are.
Yeah.
However, Kim seemed to disappear after that. And has not been seen or heard from since, so she completely disappeared. Police actually believe she was abducted, and they also believe that her disappearance is perhaps tied to this series, because it was in the same area.
But they never found the body?
Nope. She has not been found.
I don't think it's connected.
Well, like I said, they probably are privy to more information than we are.
Maybe, yeah.
So, just from a brief summary, it's kind of hard to say because they have a lot more information than we do. So they must have some reason for thinking it's connected. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Because there was probably, maybe.
Yeah. There were also,
maybe they heard something.
But it's messed up. It's always messed up to me that it's like every time I do a show about like a serial killer and stuff, and a lot of times they'll be like, well, here are the victims that they know for sure was the same killer. And then they'll be like, oh, and then there was all these other ones that might be related. And I'm like, all these other ones, if they're not related, that's fucked up because there was like, they're all unsolved. So it's like, so these people were also murdered by not even this fucking serial killer, by like some other random motherfucker running around.
I think a lot of these are actually one-offs.
They might, that's what I mean, but
Yeah.
that's scary because you don't really know. Like, you know, it's bad enough having one serial killer running around killing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, but then you have all these other ones killing like 1 here, 2 there, shit like that.
Serial
like
killers
it's a completely different person.
Serial killers are rare.
They
have
are.
to kill in series. That's very unlikely. The more likely, more plausible scenario is the guy's fantasizing about this shit. And then all of a sudden he has an opportunity to make a move. He sees a target that he's like, oh yeah, that's what I like. And he takes the target, does it, and then feels guilty. He's like, oh, I didn't like that. And then they don't do it again. That'd be very likely. That didn't turn out the way I thought. That wasn't worth it. Too much risk. Shouldn't have done that. And then they don't do it again.
Yeah.
That's probably the most likely outcome.
Yeah, because
it's less likely that the dude goes, oh, I'm going to do that again.
Well, that's the thing. You do kind of hear a lot about serial killers because serial killers tend to do one and then they escalate.
Yeah.
You know, they build up to it.
Up.
You know, they kill animals, they do other kind of shit, and then they kill a person.
And you got to kill 3.
And then
you got to kill 3 to become a serial killer.
Yeah.
I think most of these dudes that do this do 1, and then they're like, oh, I ain't doing that anymore. I think that's what happens.
I wonder.
Yeah.
Now I just kind of wonder if there's like some random ass trucker just like going around on the highways and being like, you know what? I'm gonna murder a chick just to see what it's like. And then he does it, and then it's just like either it wasn't all that, or it was too much trouble, or he didn't like it, or something, and then he just doesn't do it again, but then he never gets caught.
Yeah, I think that's.
And can you imagine? Because like later on, that dude could like get married and have kids, and like, and no one would ever know.
Yeah, I think there's lots
that is
of those.
horrifying.
I think for every one serial killer you catch, I think there's 10 of those.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, because you do hear a lot about the pathology of serial killers, which, like I said, it's in their nature to escalate.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they get off on it and they have to keep escalating the shit, like, to get off on it more because it's not, you know, it becomes routine to them. So they have to keep upping the stakes, I guess. But you never really hear about just dudes that do it once or twice and then stop.
Yeah, because they don't get caught.
Because they don't get caught. And maybe that's why there's so many like fucking unsolved murders.
I think so. I think there's 10 of for every one serial killer. I think there's 10 of those ones that do it once. They do it and they go, "Oh, that's not like I thought. I didn't. You know, that's not like I thought it was going to be like. I didn't like that. I'm not going to do that again." I think it's what it does.
Yeah, because to be a serial killer, you definitely do have to have a compulsion.
Yeah.
And I do definitely think that some people that are murderers, that would murder a person, don't necessarily have the compulsion that they would feel the need to continue doing that.
Well, I think at first they do have the compulsion. Then they do it, and then the experience was negative. It didn't satisfy them, or dissatisfied them, or they didn't like it. It wasn't as hot as they thought it was, and they're going, "Man, this is too risky," and I feel bad for that girl. I should have never done that. And that just.
Too late now, though. Just gonna say.
Yeah, well, no, it's not too late because stopping.
Well, no, too late for her.
Too late for her, but stopping is better than continuing.
True.
All right, so, but I think for every one serial killer, there's probably 10 of those.
Well, like I said, that might be why there's so many unsolved murders and why it's so hard.
Yeah.
And
that's my takeaway from the data.
And I get that authorities do kind of want to link a lot of crimes to serial killers in the area because they think, well, how many people could be running around just killing random ass people?
Yeah.
You know, in this area, in this time period, which, you know, there is some legitimacy to that. But like you said, I don't know. Maybe nowadays they put more stock in the fact that it's like maybe this was just like a one-off or a two-off, and it's just somebody that just stopped.
Right.
Because sometimes they do stop.
Sometimes they don't stop by their own volition. They go to jail.
Yeah.
And then they're in there for 10 years and they change. Their tastes change while they're in there. They lose interest in that. They don't go back to it. Or they would get killed.
Yeah.
Or move away.
Yeah.
So they lose their job and move away. There's a bunch of different reasons why there could be only one or two. You know.
Yeah.
And it might be only one or two in that area. They might have moved away and done a couple more, but then got caught or killed.
Right.
Or went to prison and then for life for something unrelated. Or went to prison for 20 years for some kind of sexual assault. They were never really identified as a serial killer. You know, there's a bunch of shit that could happen. But I think a lot of these dudes, the guy that becomes a serial killer has to fit certain criteria to get that title. This is the criteria made up by the FBI and how they profiled them. They had to kill at least 3. The motive has to be sexual. All right, that's how you do it. Most of those dudes never. That book that I read said most of those dudes never get past kill 1. They're either caught or they stop.
Yeah.
So there they are.
Yeah, Bryce said, I agree. They have a fantasy and it gets too real for them.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what happens.
Yeah. Whereas if you're a serial killer with that kind of pathology, then you do it one time and you're like, man, that was awesome. I'm gonna up the stakes next time.
I like that, but it wasn't quite.
But it wasn't quite good enough.
Quite good enough. I'm gonna do it again. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna do it better next time.
Yeah, that's the guy that becomes the serial killer. The rest of
they
them
got to constantly improve.
Right. The other ones, most of them, probably 10 to 1, fall out. You know, in other words, they go, no, I can't do this. And you don't see them again.
Which, too bad they didn't stop before killing a person, you know, because I've never killed a person. But yeah, so here are a few other ones that are kind of tangential that may be related because, you know, like I said, similar area, similar MO. So it was a girl named Laura Wilson. She's 16. And she went to a market in Detroit, a buy right market, on November 10th, 1972. Now, she was seen in the market. She did go in there and get her stuff and everything. But after she left, she disappeared. Now, later on, some kids in Wayne County found her dead body in the bushes, not that far from her house. She had been raped, and she had also had her head smashed in with a brick. Now, they were trying to, you know, her case is like kind of tentatively associated with the Oakland County child killer case. Unfortunately, a lot of the evidence in this case was destroyed in the late 1970s for whatever reason. I don't know if it was on purpose or accidental, but she's another one that that is her murder is unsolved. So they are kind of trying to tie that one in as well. And there was also a case that happened in February of 1977. This was a 10-year-old named Valerie Bishop, and she was actually raped and stabbed close to an abandoned house, not too far from her own house, which was on the west side of Detroit. She had actually gone, as many of these children had, she'd just gone on an errand, like she was going to the store down the street, like to buy some milk, like her mom sent her down there. And basically the weird thing about it is that even though this happened at the time that the Oakland County Child Killer Task Force was still active, because like I said, they didn't disband until December of 1978, and this was February of 1977, for whatever reason, they didn't investigate this case in conjunction with that, even though it seems pretty similar. Even though she was very clearly raped, you know, and she was a girl, and she was stabbed and not strangled. So this might have been a different perpetrator, but it did seem like that maybe they should have looked into it. Now, somebody was charged with this later on, a 30-year-old named Moses Potter, but was actually later released because of lack of evidence. Nobody else has ever been arrested for this crime, and it remains unsolved. So they're not sure if that one's related or not. Like I said, the MO is a little bit different. Victim profile is similar, and the way she was taken, the area and stuff like that was similar, but you know, again, it's a little bit different. So they don't know if it's related or not. Might be a different motherfucker. But like I said, that's what's kind of scary. There's like a lot of the fucking 70s, man. The fucking 70s. There were just killers running around fucking everywhere.
Well, it was a sexually charged, very permissive era. No social media. No centralized information flow, so you could move around and get away with a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Sexual kinks were starting to get kind of mainstream. It's, you know, they had weird BDSM magazines, fucking had detective story magazines. Nobody really knew what fetish was. Some odd dude could get a hold of some detective magazine that have pictures of hot women tied up and fucking do with a knife over him, you know, and it's talking about some crime that happened.
Yeah, BTK liked those too.
BTK liked those, and just like what me and Bryce are saying, he's fucking, he agreed with me too. he sees that. He goes, yeah, that'd be really hot to do that. All right. He finds some pretty chick and he tries to outlive this fantasy, you know what I mean? But then he kills her and he's like, something didn't go right. Like, he sees a look in her eye when that shit happened and their empathy happened. He's like, oh, no, I ain't doing that again, man. Fucking, that shit, she didn't think that shit was hot at all. You know, just that's how fucking crazy.
Yeah, imagine that.
It would be like,
yeah, who'd have thought that, like, being stabbed, wow, I'm just
Right.
really suddenly not in the mood anymore.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Fucking, so you never can't tell what level of fucking craziness these dudes are. But going through that, they're like, oh no, I'm not going to do that again. That wasn't satisfying. Or there wasn't any fear at all in them. That might turn them off too. He says, oh man, I did that for nothing. They didn't react. She called me an asshole. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, the fantasy...
Which is hopefully what I would do if I was ever in that
I'm not going to do that
situation.
again. It made me look bad. I didn't really feel good about it, so I'm not going to do it again. They're probably real simpleton type guys or fantasy prone guys.
I would imagine.
So then after the shit goes down, they just don't do it anymore. Because it didn't give them what they wanted. And I think that's the majority of them. That's the majority of them. Most of them don't become serial killers. There's only some of them that go, okay, yeah, that was pretty good, but I can make it better. Or that one, yeah, that kind of gave me what I wanted. If I try it again, I'll get better at it.
Yeah, like they make a whole project.
Right, yeah.
Like, well, that's what BTK called them. He called them project.
Right. But that's a small minority of these guys that have these fantasies.
But like I said, it's still pretty scary. Yeah, serial killers, in general, are pretty rare, thankfully.
Yeah.
But these other type of dudes, the second echelon, if that's what you want to call it,
there's gonna be
I'm
more
sure
of them.
that's going to be like a lot more common,
Yeah.
and that's like pretty scary to think about.
Yeah. But you also have to remember this is the 70s. This is the era of leaded gasoline. I really think it has a lot to do with it. Leaded gasoline.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot.
Lead poisoning in the mind fucking does weird things to the brain, and it makes you more aggressive. It lowers inhibitions too. There was also a lot of drugs and alcohol, and it was a time of change. And fucking the 1950s, the conservatism of the 1950s was going away, and there was kind of like a bunch of liberation was happening. And when you have fucking rampant sexual fucking liberation, you're also going to have outliers that are freakies, like dudes that fucking want to do criminal activity and sexual criminal activity. They're going to be involved in that too. Well, I'm going to take it to a bigger level. Okay, well, if that's normal, then I'm going to do this. I want to be on the edge. They're doing that.
Yeah.
Under the influence of drugs, alcohol, and fucking lead poisoning.
And like we've said too, like the 60s and 70s, most people didn't think anything about... One, letting their kids run around alone outside.
That's the way we grew up. We were feral.
People
we just ran around.
Hitchhiked.
Yeah.
They were just getting random ass people's cars. They didn't think a single thing about it. Now, like I said, most of the time, it was fine because, but we only hear about like the times when it wasn't fine.
Most people were cool. Most people are cool.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like most people are cool, but it's like you never know. You never know.
You're putting yourself in danger, especially if you're a pretty young girl. You get into dudes' cars. And some of these dudes are fucking crazy. You know.
Like I said,
probably then you're gonna run into a crazy
95% of the time, the dude was probably fine.
Yeah. Probably.
Gave you some weed, dropped you off where you wanted to go. Kumbaya.
If you ever saw the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where the girl from the fucking Manson cult gets in the damn car with
Brad
Pitt, and she kind of fucking is trying to fucking show her little cachocho to him, you know what I mean, and fucking trying to get him to go with her to the fucking ranch and shit, and he turns her down. That kind of shit happened back in the 70s. You know? It was kind of like a time of free love for some of these people. You know, I remember it.
Yeah, it seemed like it wasn't really that big of a deal.
No. When we went to fucking Sequoia National Park and went to Lake Clarko and shit, there was fucking rampant nudism going on. With teenage girls and adults and shit just walking around. No big deal.
Yeah, no one really cared.
Yeah. The park rangers would come over and fucking hand out weed to my aunt and fucking, and fucking her friends would be there and they'd be fucking playing guitar and fucking smoking weed. These are the park rangers. They had guns. But they were cool. It was just normal.
Yeah.
Because we're out in the woods. We're in nature.
Yeah. And like I said, I feel like most of the time, people were just like that. Like most people were just cool and chill. And like I said, you could hitchhike and it was fine, but it's just like... sometimes
predators
that would take advantage of that situation because they're like, hey, there's 14-year-old girls out there like hitchhiking to get to their grandma's house or whatever. Like I said, most of the time it was probably fine. They probably did it all the time.
Yep.
But until that one time when it wasn't fine.
Yeah. And the culture was different. It would have been no big deal to be in a certain environment, like, say, in California or out in a fucking Sequoia National Park, a bunch of girls and a bunch of guys together, and they're all fucking drinking fucking Granny Annie Green Springs wine and fucking 7-Up, which was the beginnings of the wine cooler. You had to make them yourself.
Yeah, because they didn't have wine coolers back then.
Girls would drink them up, and they'd be smoking weed, and the park rangers there, and there'd be nothing to see. 14, 15-year-old girl making out with a guy who was like 22. It's just, this is the way it was. They didn't even think that was a problem. Oh, isn't that cute? Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely was
different time.
Yeah, it definitely was a different time.
They didn't have the same standards you had today.
Yeah, now everybody'd be like,
like, oh, hey, she's not, there's kind of an age difference there. You're 22, she's 14. Back then, you know what I mean? Fucking, if you were menstruating, you were fucking good to go. They wouldn't even fucking consult the law books, and the cops wouldn't press charges on that. Now, if she complained, yeah, they would, but no.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to think about now because now, like I said, any dude that's 22 that wants to go after like 14-year-old girls, obviously that's super sketchy.
Yeah.
Super sketchy.
Yeah. That's illegal.
Yeah.
And that would be enforced today.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in the 70s.
It really wasn't. It really wasn't. Like I said, unless she complained or her parents complained.
Yeah, the parents could complain.
But
I
feel like it was
they
mostly
tended
the parents
not to. That was rare to bring that up, because then you're telling everybody that your daughter is sleeping with fucking older guys. So there's always backlash to shit. You know what I mean? Like, oh, her,
Well, and
just the times.
Well, and that's another thing too, is that if everybody knows your 14-year-old daughter is doing, then you get the slut tag.
Yeah. But it was kind of like hippie days. A lot of people wore hippie type clothing, and it was just. It was sex positivity.
Which I'm all for, but not to that extent. I mean, there has to be limits, right?
They weren't raised with any limits like that. They didn't think, in most states, the age of consent probably was 14.
I mean, I grew up in the 70s too. I mean, I was a kid, but I remember a lot of this stuff going on. And it really did seem like a lot more permissive. Like, my family weren't like that, but... my family were just very middle of the road. Like, they weren't conservative at all, but they weren't, like, super, hey, let's walk around naked in front of the children. Like, they weren't like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was just kind of normal. So, but there was some of that going on.
Yeah.
Which, again, I think is a little bit weird, but,
California was like that big time.
That's what
Especially
I mean.
Around those parks. It was basically nudism and going back to the wild and going back to nature, and... It was children, teenagers, and adults fucking walking around nude at parts around the beaches, and it was just like, it wasn't really sexualized.
Which, like I said, I kind of get. Yeah. I kind of get the logic behind that.
They were trying to demystify it,
Yeah, which is actually, like, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because I think if you make too much out of it, it's just like, it's a body. Everybody's got a body. Yeah. And if you overly sexualize them, then obviously that's problems. Yeah. But, that's, I don't know. There's kind of like the gray area there, I guess.
Yeah. But also, kids drank alcohol. I drank it.
Yeah.
I drank it all the time. Now, I didn't become an alcoholic or anything. I didn't really start fucking pounding down the liquor till my army times. But then I didn't even become an alcoholic there. There's not enough time. You know what I mean? You got to fucking work.
Well, there are arguments too about like going.
It was like Europe or something.
For like a more European thing, where like the kids there. I don't know about nowadays, but like kids, back then, they would just be given wine with dinner like the adults would, and so they didn't tend to become alcoholics later on because it wasn't like
a big deal.
Yeah, it wasn't taboo.
Yeah,
they'd been drinking it like little bits of it their whole life, so it wasn't ooh, I'm rebelling. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything like that.
I'd be drinking wine coolers with all my aunts and fucking all their little fucking girlfriends and shit. And at the time, my aunts were in their 20s or teens. So when you think of aunt, you think of old lady. No, they were like 20s and teens.
Yeah.
So back in those days, I didn't think there was anything of it. I didn't really think about it.
I don't think a lot of people did.
Yeah.
like I said, the only reason we think about it now is because in hindsight, we know that like a lot of bad shit happened to like some people back then. But like I said, most of the time,
it takes a couple bad apples in an environment like that.
and then it just kind of ruins it.
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel like everybody was having a good time until these motherfuckers. Yeah. But you did have like these motherfuckers going around, and particularly in this area, because look, when they were just doing this investigation into this one case, these 4 murders, they uncovered like 2 separate PDF file rings.
Yeah.
They're in the same area.
Yeah. Now Victor said that wine coolers made him gay.
Okay, yeah.
So which one is it,
tracks.
Victor? Was it the punch or was it the wine cooler?
Was it Zima?
Zima?
Wait, Zima's not a wine cooler, is it?
Zima.
What the fuck was Zima?
Zima was a.
Was it a malt?
It was a malt
liquor thing.
It was a malt beverage.
Yeah.
Kind of like synthetic beer. It was actually pretty good, but it tasted like Sprite.
I think I had it one time because man, in the 90s or whenever that came out, they did an aggressive advertising campaign. That shit was everywhere. So I said, okay, I'm going to see what the fuck this is.
I was in the Army at the time, and I was in a club with all my fucking friends. My guys in my unit, probably about 6 of us, and we were at downtown fucking one of the Tennessee, Nashville. We were in Nashville, and fucking I saw that fucking Zima sitting there in that little fucking glass refrigerator that they had behind the bar, and I remembered those commercials
because they were everywhere.
Yeah, and I said, "Let me try." I said, "What is this even?" They tried to explain it to me, and I said, "Let me try."
You're like, "What the fuck does that mean? Just give me one."
Try one. So I tried it. I took one and I drank about halfway. And one of my friends saw me drinking that shit. He took it from me and threw that shit.
Don't let anybody see you drinking that.
In the garbage. He says, "Men don't drink that. Get some fucking beer." That's a girl's drink.
Yeah, Victor
never drink the shit again.
Victor said Zima with a Jolly Rancher in it made me gay. Yeah, I remember that was a big thing
Zima
they were doing too.
Maybe my friends may have saved me. Zima could have turned me gay for all I know.
Aw.
Yeah. And I'd be hanging out with you. Yeah.
Maybe you'd let me peg you, though.
Tammy's going, yes.
You know I had to finagle that into the conversation.
Fucking women, man. Women and their fantasies.
Aren't we the worst?
Yeah.
Aw. You love me. Shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zima, nice hat. Remember that weird... Yeah, he had to do with the fedora and shit.
They were. I can't thinking about it now.
The mustache.
It seemed like every fucking 5 minutes it was a Zima commercial on.
Yeah, they
that
wanted to sell
shit
that.
was like that was some cultural saturation they had going on. I don't know how much money they spent.
Well, it wasn't just them, man. Fucking Colt 45 malt liquor was fucking. They were trying to sell
that too, but I don't remember those commercials as much. I just remember like fucking Zima being everywhere, like when it first started.
I remember the fucking Colt 45 and the Bull. There's a bunch of them. Fucking St. Ives. Remember St. Ives? All the malt liquors.
Tammy said, "Buy Tom a case of Zima."
Yeah.
I showed. Yeah, we should buy a case so you can drink it on the show.
Yeah.
I remember it because when I drank it, I was like, "Well, it's fine. It's inoffensive.
Yeah.
It's not great, but it wasn't anything spectacular."
Is there any more on this case?
No, that's it.
Okay,
I finished it.
right.
Yeah, I finished
that
it.
Way we're not,
I finished it.
Okay, so we can widen it down. But no, fucking, we reviewed malt liquor here recently. I hadn't had it since I was in the barracks in the Army. My brothers were drinking fucking malt liquor. I remember it being good. So we went and got some. Yeah, that's just real good.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. It's like...
That for the money, man, you want to go for malt liquor.
Yeah.
If you don't have much money, you go for malt liquor. And I researched the damn history of malt liquor. That was supposed to be upscale beer. They were trying to sell it to white people. White people wouldn't buy it. Black people bought it, though. So then the company started to shift and change their fucking target marketing to the African American community. But they were right. That was a fucking better quality beer. They said that it's a very good quality beer. You get a lot for your money. It does taste really good.
Yeah, it's decent.
Especially for what you paid.
I was surprised.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to kind of taste like ass, but it was actually
it's thick and real
It was
smooth.
Actually pretty good.
And it also has a higher alcohol content. So it's more bang for your
buck. Which is always a plus.
But it was originally meant to be a high-end, high-power beer for the fucking white upper middle class. That's what they were targeting. It just didn't quite work.
Whoops.
It didn't quite work. They white people kind of rejected it. They didn't like the target. And this is the marketing from the 60s and the 70s. Now later on, fucking when I think it was Colt 45 came out, they had Billy D. Williams as a spokesman, and I really remembered those commercials.
I did too. Yeah,
I fucking love Billy D. I associated it with Star Wars. You know.
Yeah, actually, like, hey, it's Lando Calrissian.
Fucking Lando's fucking drinking that shit.
Then I'm gonna drink that shit too.
Damn, I remember that, but I was too young, at that time. But when I saw fucking Colt 45, I was thinking of fucking Billy D's smooth ass fucking talking about that shit. The fucking beautiful ebony sisters all around him in the middle of the commercial.
Well,
that shit.
That was a good idea. Huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Like putting
worked.
him in the commercial.
And it was what was funny. It probably was that was not an effective marketing campaign on white adults of that time.
No, but
I was a white child, and it was effective on me. I was like, yeah, let me try that. I remember
Lando.
that commercial. Let me try that. Yeah, fucking Lando drinks that shit.
Sure,
it worked,
and he's cool as shit.
Yeah.
So, man, grown up white people back then didn't know shit about shit.
Just me, because fucking our friend fucking Dave drinks it at the Big Tom drinks it, but he's black. Fucking but no, when it comes to fucking something in a can, if you're not gonna go for Guinness or something, now I'd never drink Bud Light or any of the fucking piss beers.
Yeah, 'cause gross.
I'm gonna drink something like fucking Guinness or fucking malt liquor. Yeah.
Honestly, if I get beer, if we go someplace like, for example, that doesn't have a liquor license, and I get beer, I will usually get Killian's.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the only good mass-produced Killian's Red.
Or if they have like a good like coffee stout or something like that, I'll get that.
Killian's is fucking Miller.
But if they don't, then I'll get Killian's. Yeah, because that's pretty decent. I'm not a big beer drinker.
I think that's Miller. I think that's Miller's.
It might be
kind of higher, and they're trying to make.
Yeah, because Miller High Life is not good.
No,
it's not good.
None of the piss beers are any good.
They're really not.
They're
I mean,
real light lagers that are fucking garbage tasting. I like microbrew beer, and if it's in an expensive bottle and it's dark, you know what I mean, a dark chocolate fucking stout or something like that, I'll take.
Like
that.
I said, I'm into coffee stouts. I like that. I like those.
Or just something real dark and thick. I'll drink that. I like German Weizen beers, German white beers. They're really good, but they're very expensive, man. They're very expensive. If you don't have much money, you know what I mean. If you want to just spend that standard bottle of beer price, but you want it to be really good, you go for fucking malt liquor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we got Colt 45 on the show.
It was good, yeah.
And we went, and seriously, we should have filmed it, but you went to a super rednecky liquor store.
Yeah.
Like not too far from our house.
Yeah, they were making fun of what I was buying. The girls.
We're like, what? It's for the show. It's a taste test.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, sure.
I bought the Modelo.
Actually, our friend, Hope, that worked at Circle K, she works at that liquor store now. So we have to go visit
Modelo.
her.
Modelo is now the number 1 beer in the United States. Modelo. Fucking Bud Light got knocked out of the fucking competition.
Yeah. Oh, well.
I had Modelo fucking, what was the name of that shit? It was called, it's beer and fruit juice mixed together. The shit was fucking great.
Yeah. Those were, I liked those.
Really good.
We got, didn't we get like 3 different flavors? I have to go back and check. One was like
mango and salt. Or
we should
probably,
we should probably start doing that again.
Yeah.
Like do like taste tests.
They
They got all the holiday shit coming out now, so it's like they
what it
probably
was
got
called.
all kind of fun like gingerbread and peppermint and all kind of
It's
shit.
a Mexican drink. Normally it's just beer and hot sauce. And over ice.
What the fuck is
That's
that
what I
called?
get at the
It's right on the tip of my tongue. Michelada?
Michelada.
I knew I'd think of it in a
But
second.
Modelo makes fruit Michelada. Fucking great. Tropical fruit Michelada is fucking great. So if I couldn't get that, though, I'd get fucking some kind of malt liquor. I tried to get, what was the one? Fucking Bull. No, Bulldog. I think it was called Bulldog. It was the one, the red and black can.
Yeah.
But they don't make it anymore. I think it was called Bulldog.
I don't remember.
I was trying to look for all the old ones I remember from the 90s. They're not around. I only had Colt 45 High Gravity. That shit was good. High Gravity.
I love that it's called High Gravity. That made me laugh. SideQuest here said, holy shit, I went and got a tarot reading and came back and you're still going. Yeah. Bryce says, Stella is my favorite beer. SideQuest Hero says Stella's good. I don't remember if I've ever had Stella or not.
Red Dog. I think you're right. Red Dog.
Yeah.
Red Dog.
That's right. That's right. Like I said, I'm not a huge beer fan.
Yeah.
If they have anything that's like kind of coffee, or I like pumpkin ales too, which
Yeah.
you know, that's very basic bitch of me, but I do kind of like those.
Yeah, we have people in Europe that think, oh, American beer fucking sucks because they're thinking of fucking Bud Light.
Well, Bud Light
and
does
Miller.
suck.
That's the fucking
You're right about
bottom
that.
of the barrel fucking cheap shit. We have microbrewery.
We don't like that shit.
We have microbrewed beers here.
You can get good beer
You can
here.
get good beer here. There's fucking anything to rival a European beer, you can get it.
But
here.
the thing about it is that a lot of them, like you said, are microbreweries, and some of them
Expensive.
you can't get them. Well, one, they're
Can't get 'em
expensive,
regular.
and you can't get them regularly, and you can't
Yeah.
get them all over the country. Like
Yeah.
some of them are regional,
They're local, yeah.
so that's another problem. But yeah, you go to any decent liquor store, you can find all kind of good
The
shit.
best of the cheap ones, I think, is Yingling.
Yingling, yeah, I'll drink a
Yeah,
Yingling
Yingling
if that's all
Black
that's
and
available.
Tan's fucking really good.
Yingling or Killian's, like I
Yeah.
said, those are kind of my go-tos, if that's all that's available.
Yeah, Yingling is kind of like America's oldest brewery. That's from somewhere up north.
And the weird thing about, I don't know about nowadays, but I don't think you can get them west of the Mississippi.
I got Yingling one time at Walmart.
Yeah, well, you
Got
can
it
get
at Walmart.
you can get it here, but like they don't
Yeah.
sell it out west
Oh, they don't?
for whatever
Okay.
reason,
Okay.
or they didn't used to, because I remember my sister used to be she used to live in Denver, and she was married to a guy. They're not married anymore. She used to be married to a guy who was really into Yingling because he was from Philly, and every time they would come to Florida, like to visit his family, they would get like a whole case of Yingling because he couldn't get it there for whatever reason. They sold other beers there. But for whatever reason, Yingling they didn't sell it, like west of the Mississippi River. So he would always like stock up when he was in Florida, and then take it back to Denver, which is really weird. Victor said we have it in Texas now. So okay, so maybe they are selling it now. This was like several years
Yeah.
ago.
Yingling is good quality beer.
Yeah, I do like Yingling. Yeah. I
They-
forgot about
It
that.
comes in different flavors. I like the black and tan. That's real good. You take that black and tan and mix it 50-50 with like hard cider, like Angry Orchard or something, and it's great. Yeah,
Yeah, I do like that.
yeah,
That's what we would always get if we'd go to like Will's Pub or
yeah.
what's that other place? What's the place that used to have Uberbahn?
Falcon.
The Falcon.
That's got our boy's girlfriend working there, goth girl.
Man, we haven't been there in a long
yeah.
time. I didn't even realize that was still there. It's a tiny,
Yeah.
tiny place, but it's super cool.
Yeah, they're playing music there and everything. It's a long drive from here. That's the problem.
It is, yeah. It is kind of a long drive.
Just for that, you know what I mean? That's like
Yeah.
a weekday drink. You don't want to go there on the weekends.
Yeah,
If
well, like I said, it's
weekends, you want to go to a fucking.
well, I want to go somewhere I can dance,
Right,
and
yeah.
that place is not really big.
Right,
That's just
no.
like a bar, but
It's
it's
like
a
something you go to on a Thursday.
it's a cool bar, and they do have bands sometimes,
Yeah,
but it's tiny, tiny.
yeah.
Like you can probably only fit 50 people in there, maybe.
Okay, it's starting to get late. We're gonna shut this down.
All right, we gotta shut the show down
Yeah.
because it's getting late. We've been on for 3 hours.
Yeah.
3 hours, yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks very much for all your super chats, and thanks for hanging out with us on this Wednesday evening.
commercial, right?
Yes, I did
Okay,
at the beginning. Remember?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he remembers. All right, so we'll be back as always on Friday night for our sidetrack show, which, much like this show, except we don't actually have a topic. We just talk about whatever the fuck we want to. So that one's always fun because we always like get kind of drunk and talk about whatever. If you're new here, so yeah, so come back on Friday night at 7:30 EST for our sidetrack show, and we hope to see you guys all then, and we will see you then. Hopefully, good night.